Chapter 1119 Nirvana Elixir. Chapter 1119 Nirvana Elixir. A bloody myth. Jian Wushuang shook his head. But that's not what I want. All I want is to let them accept me. Well, in that case you've succeeded. Gu King smiled. Jian Wushuang looked around and found those Green Fire Palace experts all looked thoughtful. He's so strong. Is that really Jian Wushuang? I heard that he's only been cultivating for more than 2,000 years. He actually has increased his strength to a level like this in such a short time. Incredible. His father Nan is already formidable, however. Nan has been cultivating for 100,000 years in a secret land. Jian Wushuang may be lesser than his father, but just a little. But when it comes to cultivation time, his one is really short. Celestial masters from Green Fire Palace were all murmuring. They had finally been convinced of Jian Wushuang's potentials. Maybe, Jian Wushuang would grow someday to complete his mother's mission, and became a real leader of Green Fire Palace. At that time, buzz, behind the open doors of the restriction-covered Loyalty Palace, deep purple lights shot out. It turned out that the 6 lights came from 6 deep blue pigeon egg-sized elixirs. The 6 elixirs were emitting an inviting fragrance. Anyone that smelled them could not help be lost in the aroma. All the people shifted their gaze on the 6 deep purple elixirs. Those elixirs. Most of the celestial masters from both parties failed to recognize the 6 elixirs, including those who had a profound knowledge of elixirs. They all frowned in doubt. Inside Jian Wushuang, Gu King just smiled at the sight of them. This will be fun. Gu King, do you know what that is? Asked Jian Wushuang. Of course. Gu King smirked. Didn't I tell you that life elixir is worthless in the eternal chaotic world, and so many other elixirs exceed it? What you're looking at right now is the Nirvana elixir that exceeds the life elixir. Nirvana elixir? Jian Wushuang could not hold back his surprise. As the name suggested, it can help celestial masters take the most important step to transform themselves. Gu King explained. Take the most important step? You mean they can reach the Samsara Temple master level with it? Jian Wushuang goggled. Yes, they can. But it's not as effective as life elixir. Normally, the medicine will increase the success rate by 3/10. Gu King laughed. 3/10. Jian Wushuang gasped. To reach the level where Void Temple Master, Samsara Temple Master, and Tang Emperor at Green Fire World had been in existence for 40 million years. In the wide battlefield, there had only been one expert who crossed that level and numerous celestial masters. That most important step to a celestial master was like ancient world to eternal world. The gap was too big. No matter in Green Fire Palace or the Jin Kingdom, even in the eternal chaotic world, many celestial masters must have been trying to break through during their entire lives. And the Nirvana elixir could increase the success rate by 3/10. How great was that? Even if it was just 1/10 possibility, Jian Wushuang thought, celestial masters would scramble for it. In the eternal chaotic world, Nirvana elixir doesn't count as something extraordinary. But in Green Fire World, it's something precious. Even the Jin Kingdom will take it seriously. Of course, it's of no use to you. Gu King continued. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, still staring at the elixirs. It might be of no use to him, but would be useful to Green Fire Palace. If he could obtain all 6 of them, unexpectedly, Green Fire Palace would have 2 more palace masters, which would bring their battle strength to an unprecedented level. The puzzled experts started to recognize the elixirs as well. Nirvana elixir in the legend. The crowd gasped and finally recognized the elixirs. All of a sudden, their eyes were filled with greed. In the eyes of most celestial masters, madness revealed. They became much crazier than when they saw several hundreds of life elixirs. After all, life elixir was only useful to Tao masters. They actually did not benefit from it. They only did it for their camps. However, Nirvana elixir was completely another story. Nirvana elixir could help them take the step they had longed for. It was such an enticement to them. Get ready. Eyes on the 6 Nirvana elixir. When they're thrown out, we must do everything to get them. A black-robed woman in the Green Fire Palace camp shouted. She was Celestial Master of Green Fire Palace. Green Fire Palace had sent 3 Celestial Masters in Exceptional Realm. One of them was Celestial Master. Moreover, she was the strongest one of the 3. Everyone was staring at the 6 deep purple elixirs. Suddenly, one of the 6 elixirs transformed to a streak of purple flowing light and charged forward. The purple light shot through the restriction and floated among the crowd. Seeing the floating light, the entire battlefield got into chaos. "Get them! Fast! We must get them!" Shouts burst out in the crowd. Then, they dived into a fight scrambling for the elixirs. Both camps had gone truly mad, fighting each other for Nirvana elixir. However, in a moment the battle was over. Chapter 1123 Elixirs. Chapter 1123 Elixirs. Humph! A snort came with mighty aura. Like a storm, it stopped many experts. Clad in gold armor, a middle-aged man stood in the center. There was a red thunder-shaped mark on his forehead. He held a double-edged giant axe, surrounded by crimson clouds like a war god. In his other hand, it was the deep purple elixir, Nirvana elixir. Damn it! He's got it! He's got the first Nirvana elixir. Celestial Masters of Green Fire Palace all gritted their teeth at the sight of this. Jian Wuxia felt regretful as well. The elixir had stopped at a distant place. The moment he reached there, the fight was already over. It fell into the hands of the middle-aged man. The man who carried a giant axe was a celestial master in Exceptional Realm from the Jin Kingdom. He was actually more capable than the strong elder that Jian Wuxia had fought. He had got hold of the elixir, and no one dared to mess with him. After all, none of them was confident to kill him. It's just the first one of the 6 Nirvana elixirs. Green Fire Palace experts comforted themselves and looked back at Dan Xian Palace. In the void of the temple floated the remaining 5 elixirs. Subsequently, a streak of purple light flashed, then 2 deep purple lights shot out. Following the first 1 elixir, 2 more elixirs were thrown out in different directions. One of them stopped near Jian Wuxia. Grab them! Jian Wuxia darted directly to the nearby Nirvana elixir. As the elixir flew out of the restriction, a nearby Jin Kingdom expert rushed forward, trying to take it. However, a sharp long spear that seemed to crumble the world emerged out of the blue. "What is that?" An exclamation escaped the expert. He was just a medium celestial master, but the long spear had come from a celestial master in Exceptional Realm. Moreover, the spear had been very fast. The expert was extinguished before he could act. Then a giant hand grabbed the Nirvana elixir. The flowing light died down, and a figure appeared. It was a slim young man, dressed in bronze armor, which was emitting a mighty aura. Apparently, he was wearing a strong protective treasure. Celestial Master Green Wolf. With a hearty smile, Jian Wuxia appeared in the nearby void, carrying his Blood Mountain sword. Jian Wuxia. The young man was another celestial master in Exceptional Realm. He smiled. "The Jin Kingdom experts won't let me off easily. Help me." "Understood." Jian Wuxia nodded. Although coveted, they soon withdrew in face of Jian Wuxia, Celestial Master Green Wolf, and other helping Green Fire Palace Celestial Masters. Boom! In a distant void, an overwhelmingly strong power burst out. In the void, Dark Celestial Master was pushed backward carrying her 2 long spears. In front of her was a plump bald teenager. He held a golden machete with immense killing intent. "Celestial Master, and unfortunately, you can't beat me," the bald teenager shouted as he put a Nirvana elixir into his interspatial ring. Celestial Master An's face went red with anger, but did nothing. There had been many experts from both palaces for the elixirs, but generally speaking the Jin Kingdom was better. They had sent 4 Celestial Masters in Exceptional Realm, and the bald teenager was the only one she feared. She fought him and lost. Her elixir was also taken. "Well, at least we get one." Celestial Master and let out a sigh of relief, looking in the direction of Jian Wuxia and Celestial Master Green Wolf. There had been 3 Nirvana elixirs, and they at least got one. If they had not gotten anyone, That would be a total failure. There are 3 left. I believe they'll be throwing out at the same time. We'll get 2 of them at least. Celestial Master snorted coldly. With 2 more Nirvana elixirs, they would obtain the half of the 6, which was reasonable. The last 3. On the battlefield, all of them were staring at the remaining floating Nirvana elixirs, with eyes wide open. Then, as expected, all 3 of them were thrown out at one time. They were shot in the same direction. Both camps were stunned. 3 in on direction. All of them. That means we can 3 at one time. The present Celestial Masters were all agitated and rushed in the direction of the 3 elixirs. A scarlet-robed figure was standing in that direction. When he saw the 3 Nirvana elixirs were darting toward him, Jian Wushuang was shocked too. Among the previous 3 elixirs, the first one was too far away, and he did not even get a chance. The second and third one shot out together. He managed to help Celestial Master Green Wolf obtain one of them. But never did he expect that the last 3 all darted toward him. Shocked, Jian Wushuang still managed to open his palm and caught the 3 streaks of purple flowing lights. He was holding the 3 Nirvana elixirs. Chapter 11:21 Selfish? Chapter 11:21 Selfish. I just got 3 of them like that. Jian Wushuang still could not believe his luck when he put them into his interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang, not so soon. You get the elixirs. The Jin Kingdom experts won't let you off. Gu King reminded. Jian Wushuang looked grave. He looked around and sensed numerous eyes burning with greed. Most of them belonged to the Jin Kingdom experts. Kill. Die. Almost simultaneously, 2 figures in gold armors appeared beside Jian Wushuang out of nowhere. They came directly at him. They were the nearest to Jian Wushuang, and were the first to attack him. Since when do medium celestial masters think they can kill me? Jian Wushuang smirked and drew his blood mountain sword, with killing intents in his eyes. Clang! A low echo of sword rang. A sword light was formed out of nowhere. Anyone who saw it would find it extremely beautiful, sorrowful, and hypnotic at the same time. At that moment, many Jin Kingdom experts squinted. That swordsmanship again. He used that swordsmanship to kill nearly 20 celestial masters of ours. Careful consciousness attack. Some Jin Kingdom expert reminded. However, it was too late. The 2 attacking celestial masters were already in a trance, and were beheaded by the beautifully sorrowful sword light. The 2 medium celestial masters were killed in moments. Bastard! His killing 2 experts made other Jin Kingdom celestial masters more furious. Their killing intents grew intenser. Jian Wushuang, this way! A woman's shout rang over the battlefield to Jian Wushuang. He immediately looked into the distance, and found Celestial Master and rushing toward him. Besides, many Green Fire Palace experts had stopped some of them Jin Kingdom experts. Moreover, some capable experts were also dashing toward him. Celestial Master is formidable. As long as I'm with her, the Jin Kingdom can't touch me. Jian Wushuang squinted and made the decision. Immediately, he dashed toward her. All the Jin Kingdom experts in the way tried to stop him. At the same time, their celestial masters dived toward Jian Wushuang. You can't run. A thunderous shout rang in Jian Wushuang's ears. It was the strong elder whom he had fought that stopped him, wielding his heavy sword. You again? Jian Wushuang's countenance slightly changed. The strong elder was a real-deal celestial master in exceptional realm, and exceeded him in strength. Well, I failed to stop you last time. This time you can't escape. The elder snorted and brandished his heavy sword at Jian Wushuang again, overwhelmingly. Ridiculous. Jian Wushuang sneered, and wielded his blood mountain sword as well. Crash. The 2 clashed and Jian Wushuang was immediately defeated back. However, by the force, Jian Wushuang managed to sail through the void and got away from the elder. Slick. The elder was both shocked and furious. Then he rushed toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, hand out Nirvana elixirs or prepare to die. A sudden roar reverberated in the space, as a giant and powerful axe shadow emerged in front of Jian Wushuang. The axe shadow seemed to be able to shatter the world. Even Jian Wushuang felt that he might fail to ward it off. The axe belonged to the middle-aged man, with a thunder-like mark between his brows. He was the one who got the first Nirvana elixir. Another one. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He performed Heaven's Bane in his full strength. Whoosh! 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 As Jian Wushuang darted backward, many other Jin Kingdom experts rushed toward him. Damn! Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Jian Wushuang, quickly, give me the 3 elixirs. I'm good at defense. Even if I'm besieged, I can protect them until Celestial Master N arrives, shouted Celestial Master Green Wolf, who had caught up with Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, pass the elixirs to Celestial Master Green Wolf, Celestial Master N in the distance also urged. However, hearing Celestial Master N, Jian Wushuang furrowed his brows and shook his head. Celestial Master Green Wolf, help block one Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm for me. Jian Wushuang asked in a low voice. What? Celestial Master Green Wolf's countenance changed. Under such circumstances, Jian Wushuang really should pass the elixir to Celestial Master Green Wolf. The latter could keep them until Celestial Master N arrives. Why did he refuse? Doesn't he trust me? Or does he think that I'll take all the credit? Celestial Master Green Wolf was both shocked and angry. Stupid, stupid! Celestial Master Green Wolf roared in his heart. Nirvana elixir is important to our Green Fire Palace. How can he be so selfish at this time? If he insists and let the Jin Kingdom experts take them away, that'll be terrible. He'll become the sinner of Green Fire Palace. Celestial Master Green Wolf was furiously in doubt. Other Green Fire Palace experts were all shocked. How daring he is! Green Wolf is right beside him. Why doesn't he pass the elixirs? What does he want? At this time, he's actually thinking for his own benefits. He doesn't trust Celestial Master Green Wolf, and is not willing to hand it over. Other Green Fire Palace experts appeared angry. In their eyes, Jian Wushuang kept the elixirs because he was selfish and wanted to keep the 3 elixirs to himself. However, no one knew Jian Wushuang's real intentions. He did trust Celestial Master Green Wolf, and he was not selfish at all. The truth was that, compared to Celestial Master Green Wolf, the elixirs would be safer with him. Chapter 1122, Jian Wushuang's Madness. Chapter 1122, Jian Wushuang's Madness. Celestial Master Green Wolf is an exceptional realm, and wears a protective armor. He is indeed strong in defense. However, I'm covered in blood-killing plate armor and cultivate golden image secret skill. Moreover, I have a strong body. In terms of defense, I'm better than him. His eyes flashed with excitement. When it came to surviving, Jian Wushuang believed that he was the best present. Compared to Celestial Master Green Wolf, the elixirs would definitely be safer with him. Prepare to die, Jian Wushuang. The strong elder shouted as his heavy sword became as gigantic as a mountain that charged at Jian Wushuang. Umph! The middle-aged man bearing a thunder-like mark on his forehead snorted as he brandished his giant axe at Jian Wushuang. Besides, the 3rd Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm, the Jin Kingdom sent, also arrived. He charged at Jian Wushuang directly. Damn! Celestial Master Green Wolf's expression changed dramatically. He glared at Jian Wushuang as he warded off the 3rd Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm. However, he could only stop one of them. There were still 2 more Celestial Masters in Exceptional Realm, and a few advanced Celestial Masters that had targeted Jian Wushuang. Come and try me. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with immense battle intent. His Blood Mountain sword was shaking. Then he struck quickly. Sword light flashing, Jian Wushuang single-handedly engaged the strong elder, the middle-aged man, and a few advanced Celestial Masters. The fight was intense. Bang! Bang! Clang! Boom! Thunderous sounds reverberated in the battlefield. At that time, Jian Wushuang released all the power in his body. His Blood Mountain sword was going full speed ahead. He had warded off the strikes from the strong elder and the middle-aged man, with a thunder-like mark. On the other hand, the few advanced Celestial Masters charged directly at him. Humph! Jian Wushuang looked cold. A jolt went through his body, but he swiftly recovered. Kill. Kill him. He actually wants to fight us alone. He's digging his own grave. The several advanced celestial masters who surrounded Jian Wushuang were full of killing intents. Jian Wushuang was only fending off the two celestial masters and ignored them, which left them furious. All of a sudden they struck again. The strong elder and the middle-aged man with the thunder-like mark moved as well. Two celestial masters in exceptional realm, along with a few advanced celestial masters, encircled Jian Wushuang. Bang! 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 Horrifying growls reverberated in the air. The thunder lasted for several seconds. The two celestial masters in exceptional realm and the advanced celestial masters had attacked Jian Wushuang 10 times. But it turned out that die! An advanced celestial master screamed furiously and brandished his sword at Jian Wushuang. However, he just crouched. At the next moment, a beautifully sorrowful sword light glided over. What? The advanced celestial master widened his eyes. Never did he accept a blow from Jian Wushuang, who had been besieged by them for a long time. He actually had the strength to fight back. Moreover, his swordsmanship was formidable and swift as usual. The celestial master was penetrated in the throat before he was able to dodge. His corpse fell to the ground. Get lost, all of you! Jian Wushuang shouted, and again he brandished Blood Mountain Sword. This time, he used Heaven's Bane to sweep his opponents. The advanced celestial masters who had surrounded Jian Wushuang all withdrew. When they had retreated to a safe place, they stopped to stare at the scarlet-robed youth carrying a longsword. All of them looked disheartened. Two celestial masters in exceptional realm and several advanced celestial masters joined to besiege him. It turned out he actually killed one of us? The strong elder widened his eyes with disbelief. He, Jian Wushuang. Green Wolf was fighting another celestial master in exceptional realm. At the sight of this, he was shocked as well. If he had been besieged like that, he would have been badly injured. He would never dream of killing one of the opponents. But now, go on. Jin Kingdom bastards, go on. I'd love to see who die first. Jian Wushuang fixed his cold eyes on them, and his provocation left everyone present in fear. The strong elder and the middle-aged man, with a thunder-like mark, both looked terrible. However, at this time, prepare to die, Jian Wushuang. With a shout, a frosty bald teenager strode toward Jian Wushuang, carrying his golden machete. Immediately, the bald teenager clenched his gold machete with both hands. Power surged from him. Behind him, a golden dragon spectral image emerged. With overwhelmingly strong power, he struck out. Dragon Slayer. The bald teenager looked vicious. The moment he brandished the machete, terrifying strong power gathered and rushed to Jian Wushuang. Damn! It's Jin Yi. Celestial Master Jin Yi from the Jin Kingdom. He's among the top 3 even in Celestial Masters in exceptional realm of the Jin Kingdom. Not even Celestial Master and can compare with him. Moreover, this is his best move, Dragon Slayer. Celestial Masters of Green Fire Palace were all shocked at the sight of this. Celestial Master Green Wolf furrowed his brows. Celestial Master Jin Yi has performed his best and famous strike. Even if Jian Wushuang fends it off, he'll be badly injured, Jian Wushuang. Boom! A surging golden saber shadow fell from the sky toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang felt majestic mountain power rushing to him. The strike was even more formidable than the combined forces of the strong elder, the middle-aged man with the cloud-like mark, and several advanced celestial masters. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang never feared. Come on! Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth, his eyes flashing with madness. Ancient god power surrounded his Blood Mountain sword as he expanded his body to 3 meters high. His body took on a dark gold glow. Then he brandished his sword. Chapter 1123, Helpless. Chapter 1123, Helpless. Bam! The mighty golden saber shadow and Jian Wushuang's all-out Heaven's Bane clashed. Generally, Jian Wushuang was able to beat ordinary celestial masters in exceptional realm. But Celestial Master Jin Yi was much stronger than that. As they clashed, Jian Wushuang's Heaven's Bane immediately collapsed. On the other hand, The golden saber shadow was only slightly weakened. Subsequently, Genie brandished his machete one more time. At that moment, he had covered Jian Wushuang's entire body. Boom! The blade light sailed through the void and pushed Jian Wushuang under the ground. Did he die? Celestial Master Jin Yi observed the ground emotionlessly. Bang! A scarlet-robed figure surged from under the ground, stirring many gravels. He appeared in front of Jin Yi one more time. Jian Wushuang's scarlet robe rustled. His eyes were crimson, and his killing intent had grown intenser. Like an immortal master, he stood in the void. Both Jin Kingdom and Green Fire Palace Celestial Masters were all stunned by the scene. What's going on? Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. Strong as the elder was, he and the middle-aged man with a cloud-like mark both find it unbelievable. His aura isn't impaired? A gasp escaped Celestial Master Jin Yi. Normally, Celestial Masters in Exceptional Realm were unable to fend off his best move. Celestial Master Green Wolf, who mastered defense skills, might fail to take the hit as well. But Jian Wushuang did. Moreover, he was not even bloodstained. His aura stayed the same. Even, Jian Wushuang was looking murderous now, as if he would go to ant length to fight back. How was that possible? Swoosh! A female figure showed up in front of Jian Wushuang. They were Celestial Master An and Celestial Master Yin Tong, who came to his rescue. Moreover, many formidable Celestial Masters appeared beside Jian Wushuang in a row to protect him. All Jin Kingdom experts looked helpless. Jian Wushuang, good move. Celestial Master An stared at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. She sounded appreciative. Green Fire Palace experts were all stunned and looked at Jian Wushuang in awe. And the power of Jian Wushuang justified their reverence for him. Jian Wushuang. Celestial Master Green Wolf caught up with Jian Wushuang. Sorry. I was trying to take the Nirvana elixirs. Fortunately I didn't. Otherwise, it was true. If he took the Nirvana elixir, Celestial Master Jin Yi would be targeting him. However, he did not have the confidence to ward off Celestial Master Jin Yi's Dragon Slayer. Hearing Celestial Master Green Wolf, Jian Wushuang retracted his killing intent and nodded slightly. I think I'm better in terms of defense, otherwise, I would have passed them to you without a doubt. After all, we all come from Green Fire Palace. I won't be selfish and take all the elixirs. Sorry I got you wrong. Celestial Master Green Wolf apologized. Many other Green Fire Palace experts also misunderstood him. They thought Jian Wushuang kept the elixirs because he was selfish and wanted to keep the 3 elixirs to himself. Well, now they knew he had a plan. Well, we'll stop here. Celestial Master An waved and said, of the 6 Nirvana elixirs we get 4. That's really something. Other Green Fire Palace experts looked delighted as well. Between the present 2 sides, Green Fireplace had an advantage. They thought 3 elixirs would suffice. At present, 4 Nirvana elixirs had greatly exceeded expectations. Of course, Jian Wushuang contributed a lot to their achievement. On the contrary, the Jin Kingdom experts all looked gloomy. Many vicious eyes were fixed upon Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, it's him again. In the fight of life elixirs, he killed nearly 20 of our Celestial Masters and obtained a lot of medicines. Now because of him we get only 2 elixirs. He's such a nuisance. Where does he come from? And why is his aura only in Eternal Realm? The crowd complained and cursed. The 4 Jin Kingdom Celestial Masters in Exceptional Realm all gathered and glared at Jian Wushuang, teeth gritted. They were unwilling to accept the result. They were at a disadvantage, and they should have gotten more life elixirs and Nirvana elixirs. But because of Jian Wushuang, they did not get their share, and lost more than they had expected. Nevertheless, no matter how furious and resentful they felt, they could only watch. After all, they could not touch Jian Wushuang. Although he had been besieged, he survived and even remained his strong aura. Now that Celestial Master An, Celestial Master Yin Tong, Celestial Master Green Wolf had joined forces with him, they were less likely to kill Jian Wushuang. At this moment, Celestial Master Jin Yi discovered something, and then he became elated. At the next moment, swoosh! Wind-breaking sound rang. A ghost-like figure in a black robe appeared on the battlefield out of nowhere. Seeing the figure, all Jin Kingdom experts looked delightfully surprised and bowed in respect. Heaven Shadow King! Heaven Shadow King! Their greetings resounded over the sky. Green Fire Palace experts all looked stunned at the sight of this. Bad luck, it's Heaven Shadow King of the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom. This looks bad. He's an expert who can compare to our 5 palace masters. Heaven Shadow King actually came. All Green Fire Palace Celestial Masters were terrified. Even Celestial Master An, Celestial Master Yin Tong, and Celestial Master Green Wolf flustered. Inside Jian Wushuang, Gu King's voice cracked as well at the sight of the figure. A Universe Master. Chapter 1124, Heaven Shadow King. Chapter 1124, Heaven Shadow King. Universe Master was a level above both Dao Master and Celestial Master. Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, and Tang Emperor were all at this level. Heaven Shadow King in front of them was a very Universe Master. Jian Wushuang, your defense ability is incomparably good. Few Celestial Masters are able to kill you. However, a Celestial Master can't compare with a Universe Master. You should be careful. Gu King said solemnly. I know. Jian Wushuang looked grave, and with a flick of the wrist, he was holding a drop of golden water in his hand, ready to escape at any time. Wearing a black robe, with a lean face and a pair of eagle-like eyes, Heaven Shadow King appeared in the Jin Kingdom camp. He glanced at the Celestial Master Jin Yi and asked, How's everything going? My lord, everything has been going smooth, but because of Jian Wushuang, we lost a lot, and acquired only 2 Nirvana elixirs. He alone got 3 elixirs. Celestial Master Jin Yi said coldly. Oh! Heaven Shadow King squinted, but at the next moment, he fixed his vicious eyes upon Jian Wushuang. An eternal realm? You're Jian Wushuang, right? Heaven Shadow King was sneering coolly. I heard that you've got 3 Nirvana elixirs. Yes, I do. Jian Wushuang nodded. Hand over the 3 Nirvana elixirs, and I will spare you. Heaven Shadow King sounded indifferent. Hand over the elixirs, and you spare me? You wish. Jian Wushuang snorted. You don't? Then prepare to die. Heaven Shadow King still sounded indifferent. As he finished his threats, he swung his giant hand. With the twist of his hand, immediately, a long black whip rushed out lightning fast like a giant python. Be careful. Jian Wushuang, run. The Green Fire Palace experts roared. When Jian Wushuang saw Heaven Shadow King waved, he immediately consumed the golden drop of water in his hand to make his aura soar. He waved the long sword and released his mighty power. He was ready to go to any length to fend off the long black whip. But the black long whip was weirdly flexible. It directly bypassed Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship and slammed onto him hard like a soaring dragon. This whip! There was a trace of horror in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He had done his best, but his swordsmanship's speed fell short of the dark and long whips. Now he could only watch the black and long whip slamming on him. Snap! A crisp sound rang, faintly accompanied by cracklings of bones. Jian Wushuang directly spat a large mouthful of blood and grew pale. He was slammed into beneath the ground, but at the next moment he rose up again. And this time he did not hesitate to escape. He didn't die. Is it because of the ancient god power? Heaven Shadow King looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. He just saw that Jian Wushuang had absorbed the ancient god power. Absorbing the ancient god power could make people's strength soar in a short period of time, not only in the attacking power, but also in one's defensive ability. Heaven Shadow King was quite confident in his own strength. Although he did not display an all-out attack, he believed it was enough to end a Celestial Master in exceptional realm. Now that Jian Wushuang survived, he could only blame it on the ancient god power. It'll just take a little more effort. Looking at the escaping Jian Wushuang, Heaven Shadow King stayed indifferent, and then vanished into black smoke. It's too strong. A Universe Master is too strong. As Jian Wushuang escaped, he looked terrified. At the moment Heaven Shadow King acted, he absorbed the ancient god power to improve his attack power and defensive ability. However, he was still seriously injured. One must know that his defensive ability was extremely good. Celestial Master Jin Yi had displayed an all-out assault, and Jian Wushuang stayed unharmed. Jian Wushuang, I will heal you as soon as possible. Your combat power won't be influenced for now, but you must not let Heaven Shadow King catch up with you, otherwise such an attack. A whip can't kill you, but a few more whips will definitely crumble you. Gu King warned solemnly. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. As he was escaping, he looked back to check. What? Jian Wushuang's countenance changed because he saw that Heaven Shadow King was constantly approaching him. Heaven Shadow King was much faster than him. How can it be? Jian Wushuang was shocked. You must know that at this moment, he had already tried his best to display the second Dragon Blood secret skill. The spiritual power in his body was burning wildly, and his speed had skyrocketed by 100 times. However, he still failed to get rid of Heaven Shadow King, and they were getting closer and closer. Damn, Heaven Shadow King must be very fast. An ordinary universe master will never be fast like this. Gu King guessed. He was right. Among the 9 kings of Jin Kingdom, Heaven Shadow King was much faster than the ordinary ones. Even though Jian Wushuang burnt immense spiritual power to display Dragon Blood secret skill, he still failed to escape Heaven Shadow King's long whip. Jian Wushuang, you have to die. Heaven Shadow King's eyes were cold, and then, he immediately appeared behind Jian Wushuang. At the same time, he whipped the giant python-like black whip. It was still so weird that Jian Wushuang could not ward it off. The dark long whip once again slammed on Jian Wushuang. This time, Heaven Shadow King did not hold back his strength. Snap! With a crisp sound, Jian Wushuang felt a burning pain on his back. His internal organs and bones were being squeezed as if they were going to explode. He was spitting blood again. Is this whip even stronger than before? Jian Wushuang's expression changed dramatically. I can't stand another whip. I can only take one last strike. However, when Heaven Shadow King found Jian Wushuang was still alive, his face fell. He was a universal master, and actually personally dealt with Jian Wushuang, who was in Eternal Realm. He had confronted the latter 2 times, and still failed to kill Jian Wushuang? He found it embarrassing. No matter what, the third whip must kill Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1125, Sword Emperor arrives. Chapter 1125, Sword Emperor arrives. Humph! Heaven Shadow King snorted, and at the next moment, he was holding a drop of golden water in his palm, a drop of ancient god power. You've made me use the ancient god power. Jian Wushuang, if you die in honor. The indifferent voice of heavenly shadows echoed between heaven and earth. Then, the Shadow King guided the ancient god power into the body. The ancient god power could help a celestial master greatly by doubling his combat power in a short time. Though it was not that effective to a universe master, it still could increase Heaven Shadow King's battle strength by 50%. At that time, Heaven Shadow King once again whipped the long whip. It was still a casual blow, but the whip twisted like a giant python. It was obviously much stronger than the previous 2 whips. I can't stand it. Jian Wushuang suddenly squinted, and he felt he might fail to ward it off. Suddenly, clang! With an echo of sword, it suddenly snowed. The whole ground was stained with white snowflakes. The sky and the void became cold and bone-chilling. Heaven Shadow King looked surprised, and he could not help but stop. His black and long whip hung in the air. He looked up and stared as far as the eyes could reach. An indifferent man carrying a long sword walked slowly in the snow toward him. With every step he took, the snow broke at his feet. After a long while, he arrived in front of Heaven Shadow King. As he stopped, the snowflakes disappeared in an instant, and everything returned to normal. Heaven Shadow King looked gloomy, his brow wrinkled as he saw the visitor. This is... Jian Wushuang was also watching the person, and in his perception, this indifferent man was just a celestial master. But the celestial master carried a horrible sword essence that even Jian Wushuang found terrifying. It was this celestial master that made Heaven Shadow King, one of the 9 kings of Jin Kingdom, stop his attack, and even look very serious. A strong sword essence. Gu King inside Jian Wushuang spoke. I have seen a lot of sword principle experts after I have parasitized on you. Like your father, you have opened up the strongest sword principle. The sword essence that you have is quite worthwhile. However, you can't compare with the person in front of you at all. So powerful sword essence, and only a celestial master. Then he is. Jian Wushuang had already guessed the identity of the person. Sunrise Sword Emperor. Heaven Shadow King bit his teeth, staring at the visitor. In the entire Green Fire Palace, there was only one celestial master that could lay such pressure on him. That was the greatest sword cultivator recognized by the Green Fire Palace, and one of the 5 palace master of the Green Fire Palace, Sunrise Sword Emperor. Heaven Shadow King. Sunrise Sword Emperor glanced at Heaven Shadow King and spoke coolly. You are a well-known and respected figure in the world. Don't you think hurting a junior of our Green Fire Palace is too far? Too far. Heaven Shadow King snorted. In this world, strength rules, as long as you have strength, so what if you go too far? You are right, this world is about strength. If so, then today I want to know how great your strength is. Sunrise Sword Emperor said coldly, and upon finishing his words he looked up. Like a lightning, immense sword essence rushed toward Heaven Shadow King. At the same time, the surrounding world had once again become white, cold and frosty. Carrying the long sword, Sunrise Sword Emperor lifted his right hand to draw the long sword behind him. At the moment his palm touched the hilt, bang! Horrible sword essence suddenly broke out, and the blade was instantly unsheathed. Before Jian Wushuang had the time to see the movements of Sunrise Sword Emperor, an immaterial sword shadow had already broken out. The sword shadow looked ordinary, but when it glided over, it even left Heaven Shadow King, who had reached the level of Universe Master, stunned. Immediately, aura surged from Heaven Shadow King's body. With the help of the ancient god power, he released more power to brandish the long whip. Bam! A loud noise. The immaterial sword shadow collided with the black long whip head-on, leaving the void crackling. Humph! Heaven Shadow King grunted, and his face immediately paled. He no longer tried to save face, and withdrew until he stopped far away from Sunrise Sword Emperor. Then, he managed to get back on his feet. This scene left Jian Wushuang and experts from both the Jin Kingdom and Green Fire Palace in shock. One must know that Heaven Shadow King had absorbed the ancient god power and displayed stronger strength. However, Sunrise Sword Emperor confronted his opponent with his bare hands. It turned out that he was defeated by Heaven Shadow King. Sunrise Sword Emperor is really something. The voice of Gu King rang in Jian Wushuang's ears. There is a great gap between the Universe Master and the Celestial Master. Even in the eternal chaotic world, it's rare for a Celestial Master to challenge a Universe Master. However, Sunrise Sword Emperor not only challenged a Universe Master, but also displayed power much stronger than a normal Universe Master. In addition, his sword essence is indeed very strong. If I'm not mistaken, he must have opened up 2 strongest sword principles at the same time, and then combined them to obtain a Dharma body. 2 strongest sword principles? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. After a round, Heaven Shadow King lost and retreated to somewhere afar. He dared not to confront Sunrise Sword Emperor again. Many Green Fire Palace Celestial Masters appeared next to Sunrise Sword Emperor. Sunrise Sword Emperor, Palace Master Sunrise Sword. Celestial Masters all bowed. Even the strongest Dark Celestial Master acted respectfully in front of Sunrise Sword Emperor. Palace Master? Jian Wushuang realized. The Green Fire Palace now has a total of 5 Palace Masters. Aside from Void Temple Master, Samsara Temple Master, and Tang Emperor, the 4th should be Sunrise Sword Emperor, but I don't know who'll be the last 5th Palace Master. Sunrise Sword Emperor waved his hand and signaled everyone to get up, and then he said, When I found life medicines in the nearby areas, I immediately came here. I spent a lot of time on my way here. Today I finally arrived, and it seems that it is not too late. Hearing the words of Sunrise Sword Emperor, many of the Green Fire Palace Celestial Masters looked pleasantly surprised. Sunrise Sword Emperor did not come late, and it was really the right time. Chapter 1126 Dan Xian. Chapter 1126 Dan Xian. Both the experts from the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom returned to the outside of the Dan Xian Palace again. The two camps confronted each other from a distance. Since a lot of people had been slaughtered by Jian Wushuang previously, the overall strength of the two camps did not differ enormously. The most powerful expert in the Jin Kingdom was Heaven Shadow King, while the Green Fire Palace had Sunrise Sword Emperor to support them. Obviously, Sunrise Sword Emperor was much mightier than Heaven Shadow King, which greatly boosted the morale of experts from the Green Fire Palace. The life elixirs and nirvana elixirs came from the Dan Xian Palace? Sunrise Sword Emperor stared at the Dan Xian Palace indifferently and said slowly, "If I am right, the Dan Xian Palace is controlled by a spirit. Come out, there's no need to hide." Sunrise Sword Emperor's resonant voice penetrated the restriction and went into the Dan Xian Palace. An awkward silence pervaded here, and soon afterwards, a shadowy figure slowly appeared before the crowd from the enormous hall of the Dan Xian Palace. It turned out to be a chubby bald elder, who had a pair of eyes as small as those of mouses. He looked quite cunning. Is this man the spirit of the Dan Xian Palace? Celestial masters from the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom all looked at this elder surprisedly. He looked ordinary, and if he was put in the crowd, he definitely was the most inconspicuous one. Haha. Being stared by so many experts present, the chubby elder let out roars of weird laughter. I planned to play with you for some more time, but now that you have brought my identity out into the open, I have no choice but to make an appearance. Alas, these nirvana elixirs are going to be wasted. He looked terribly sorry for that, and two dark purple elixirs appeared in his hands. Everyone on the scene knew what they were. They were nirvana elixirs that they had just fought madly for. Are there any other nirvana elixirs? The celestial masters from the two camps were burning with desire. The chubby elder noticed their expressions and smiled weirdly. He clenched his fists and crushed the two elixirs in his hands into powder in front of those people. After that, he threw them away as if they were rubbish. This, you bastard. You are wasting treasures recklessly. Voices mixed of shock and anger sounded outside the Dan Xian Palace. They had just fought desperately for the 6 nirvana elixirs, and quite a few experts died because of that. However, the chubby elder just crushed 2 nirvana elixirs casually. Although they were furious and astonished, they were more confused. They did not understand what this elder wanted to do on earth. The spirit of the Dan Xian Palace, do you have a name? Sunrise Sword Emperor looked at him coldly, and still remained calm. Name? Of course I have. But unfortunately, I have long forgotten it after so many years. Since this is the Dan Xian Palace, just call me Dan Xian. The chubby elder said. Upon hearing this, the experts from the two camps had an odd expression on their faces. He has forgotten his name? How long has he lived? Jian Wushuang thought and knitted his brows. He has lived since this giant battlefield has existed. Gu King stated. As a spirit without a master, he must have been living a lonely life over the years. No one can stand such a life, even a spirit like him. He surely has become eccentric and crazy. That means Jian Wushuang, he must be a throughout lunatic. Lunatic? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Dan Xian. Sunrise Sword Emperor opened his mouth again. You'd been on this battlefield for so many years, and had always remained silent, but you chose to show up during this period. I assume you must have your reasons. Tell me, what is your purpose? Purpose? Haha, my purpose. The chubby elder laughed out loud crazily. It's very simple. I just want to fool you, and make you my playthings. Fool us? Playthings? The experts from the two camps frowned. Dan Xian continued to laugh crazily. I had been in this damn place for too long. It's so long that I cannot even remember. I haven't ever encountered any man over the years. But when I woke up a decade ago, I finally saw a human expert pass by this area. So, how could I just let him go? I decided to tease him. I threw out a life elixir on purpose, and let him find it and surprised him. Later, I threw out a few more life elixirs in succession, and let him discover all of them. He was overjoyed and chose to stay here to search for more life elixirs. Then, I guided him to find other life elixirs step by step, from which I enjoyed some fun. This is the only fun I have gained during that hard time. Hearing Dan Xian's words, Jian Wushuang frowned in thought. He hadn't met any person over that long period. This is an unknown area. Both the experts from the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom has just explored it in recent years. Thus, that human expert was the first man Dan Xian has ever encountered. Gu King said. Jian Wushuang immediately understood that. Originally, I intended to let that man provide me with a little more fun. I tried to lead him to a place full of dangers, and let him die there. But I didn't expect that there would be another human being coming there soon. Obviously, they were from different camps. I deliberately guided them to meet each other, and kill each other crazily for life elixirs. Haha, interesting. It's fucking interesting. What's more interesting was that more and more humans came here to search for life elixirs. I designedly threw out life elixirs to cause you guys to fight each other. Seeing that scene, I was greatly pleased. Dan Xian laughed wildly. Outside the Dan Xian Palace, the celestial masters from the two camps looked terrible. They did not expect that it was Dan Xian who intentionally threw out the life elixirs on this area. His purpose was to guide them to fight for the life elixirs madly, so that he could enjoy some fun. Chapter 1127 Lunatic. Chapter 1127 Lunatic. Bastard, you amused yourself by watching us fighting and killing each other. You treated us as playthings. Damn it. Curses could be faintly heard among the crowd. However, Dan Xian did not care. He added, when I saw so many people come to this area, I knew it was time for me to come out again. Since then, humans gathered here. Just as what you have seen, I threw out the elixirs one after another. You killed each other madly in order to contend for them, and I had some fun. That was good for both sides. Good for both sides. The experts present gnashed their teeth and glared at Dan Xian. Dan Xian said all this easily, but they risked their lives in order to attain those elixirs. Boy, you are Jian Wushuang, right? Dan Xian's evil voice sounded again. Jian Wushuang looked up at Dan Xian. You should be thankful to me. Without me, you couldn't have obtained 3 nirvana elixirs at once. Dan Xian grinned and said. Jian Wushuang's face fell. He knew that he would not be so lucky. The last 3 nirvana elixirs that Dan Xian threw out moved directly toward him. As he expected, Dan Xian did this on purpose. I've noticed you when you were scrambling for life medicines. You are merely an Eternal Realm rookie, but your battle strength is awesome. Even in the eternal chaotic world, you are like a monster. I'm naturally more interested in you. Dan Xian smiled. Really? I really appreciate it. Jian Wushuang said coldly. It seemed that Dan Xian offered him benefits. In fact, Dan Xian amused himself by doing so. Although he had acquired 3 nirvana elixirs, he experienced a near escape. Seeing Jian Wushuang's expression, Dan Xian was not annoyed. He looked around and said, Fine, I'm not gonna talk nonsense to you guys anymore. Now that I appeared, I definitely will find a master. I'm wondering who is interested in my Dan Xian palace? Upon hearing that, the experts from the two camps suddenly looked up and were burning with greed. Their desire was stronger than ever. They knew that there were a lot of precious elixirs in the Dan Xian palace. Perhaps the nirvana elixirs and life elixirs were not the best elixirs there. After all, they just saw Dan Xian crush 2 nirvana elixirs causally and threw them away like rubbish with their own eyes. Whoever was able to become the master of the Dan Xian palace and obtain a large number of elixirs from it was bound to receive great opportunities. With these elixirs, be it the Jin Kingdom or the Green Fire Palace, their strength would usher in an unprecedented leap. Dan Xian, tell me what conditions are required if I want to be the master of the Dan Xian Palace? Sunrise Sword Emperor said indifferently. Dan Xian laughed weirdly and said, Now I'm in charge of the Dan Xian Palace. It's easy to become its master. You just need to find a way to please me. To please you, the experts from the two camps froze. How about this? There is a piece of iron in my hand, and I believe you all know that, right? Dan Xian stretched his hand, so that everyone could see that piece of pitch-black iron clearly. This is black iron? Everyone present could recognize it. The black iron was the most common and abundant metal in the whole world. Not to mention the green fire world. Even in the ancient world, it was very common. Dan Xian, what do you do with a piece of black iron? The experts present were very puzzled. Listen, if you want to make me happy, you have to find a way to attain more black iron. I don't need too much, 500,000 kilograms are sufficient. Dan Xian said. 500,000 kilograms of black iron? The expressions of the experts here turned more eccentric. There were plenty of ordinary metals, such as the black iron, in the green fire world. Not to mention 500,000 kilograms of black iron. They could easily collect even 50 million kilograms of such things. The problem was that as powerful celestial masters, they would not put such common things in their interspatial rings. Which celestial master would pile up so much ordinary black iron in his interspatial ring? Haha, I know that you don't have black iron at hand, but it exists in the area where you are right now. There are innumerable black iron veins under the mountains that look like a human face. You can acquire as much black iron as you want so long as you are willing to work hard. Dan Xian smiled. Hearing his words, the experts from the two camps were black in the face. How dare this bastard ask us to mine black iron? He doesn't want a master but makes fun of us. Mining black iron? I have never done such a thing since I was born. Roars of low-pitched growls sounded among the crowd, and the experts from the two camps glared at Dan Xian. But no matter how wrathful they were, Dan Xian never paid any attention to that. The opportunity is right here. If you want to own the Dan Xian Palace, just give it a try. If you are not willing to do that, I won't force you. Dan Xian smiled. In addition, the opportunities are limited. Whoever attains 500,000 kilograms of black iron can try first. You have to treasure the opportunity. After that, Dan Xian directly slept on the ground, ignoring the experts from the two camps. Seeing this scene, though furious, the celestial masters from the two camps had no other choice. After all, Dan Xian never forced them to do that. Did it or not, that was their choice. What should we do? Are we really going to mine black iron? Let us mine black iron? How dare he dream up that bastard? Complaints were heard everywhere in the camp of the Green Fire Palace. Jian Wushuang, am I not wrong? Dan Xian's heart has been distorted over the years. He is crazy, a complete lunatic. Gu King's voice rang out. I believe even if you really follow his instructions and obtain 500,000 kilograms of black iron, I am afraid you cannot get a chance to own the Dan Xian Palace either. Yeah, I can figure out that. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. From Dan Xian's behaviors, he could tell that he was a lunatic. Jian Wushuang. When he heard the voice, he saw Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long, who were on good terms with him, walk toward him. Chapter 1128. Put the shoe on the right foot. Chapter 1128. Put the shoe on the right foot. Celestial Master Yi, Celestial Master Meng Long. Jian Wushuang smiled and greeted them. Well, where is Celestial Master Jin Chu? Jin Chu died. Celestial Master Yi sighed. Jian Wushuang froze but soon shook his head. He had even nearly been killed by Heaven Shadow King in that fierce battle. Therefore, as a medium celestial master, Jin Chu was very likely to die. Dan Xian, that old bastard, is clearly making fun of us. Celestial Master Yi swore in a low voice. All right, stop complaining. Celestial Master Meng Long glanced at Celestial Master Yi and then asked, Jian Wushuang, will you mine the black iron? No. Jian Wushuang directly shook his head. What about you? Celestial Master Meng Long and I plan to take our chance. It's no big deal, but merely to mine 500,000 kilograms of black iron. And it's nothing serious, even if the Dan Xian Palace doesn't recognize one of us as its master after that. But once we succeed in doing that, it will be beneficial to both us and the Green Fire Palace. Celestial Master, said. Jian Wushuang lifted his eyebrows and nodded. Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Menglong quickly set off. Apart from them, the better part of the other Celestial Masters from the Green Fire Palace chose to mine the black iron. Only a few people were unwilling to contend for that. Jian Wushuang was one of them. Of course, instead of cherishing his dignity, he did do that because he was not interested in the Dan Xian Palace. Be it the life elixirs or the nirvana elixirs, they don't do me much good. I fought for them for the sake of the Green Fire Palace. I have had enough life elixirs and even 3 nirvana elixirs, so I have done my best for the Green Fire Palace. As for making the Dan Xian Palace recognize me as its master, Jian Wushuang glanced at the Dan Xian Palace, that was still located in the restriction, and shook his head. He was well aware that Dan Xian would never allow others to become the master of the Dan Xian Palace so easily. And even if it finally had a master, that would never be him. Since the Dan Xian Palace is a place to store elixirs, his master must be the one who has gained great attainments on refining elixirs, or can recognize all the elixirs. Jian Wushuang, you don't know anything about refining elixirs and the categories of elixirs. It's impossible for the Dan Xian Palace to recognize you as its master. This was what Gu King said to him. Jian Wushuang also knew this, so he had no intention to get himself involved in the following dealings. Ignored the present experts, Jian Wushuang walked to Sunrise Sword Emperor. Sunrise Sword Emperor. Jian Wushuang saluted. Oh, Jian Wushuang? Sunrise Sword Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang. Although he still looked deadpan, there was a hint of kindness in his eyes. Thank you for saving me just now, Sword Emperor. Jian Wushuang said gratefully. You are a member of my Green Fire Palace, and you were risking for the Green Fire Palace. Since I arrived here, I was obliged to save you. Any other palace masters will rescue you without hesitation. Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Although Sunrise Sword Emperor said so, Jian Wushuang still appreciated him a lot. After all, without him, his world body would have been exterminated. Even though he would not die, the treasures on him might be seized by others. Furthermore, some of his secrets would be exposed. Sunrise Sword Emperor. These are 3 nirvana elixirs, and all the life elixirs I have just acquired. Jian Wushuang took out an interspatial ring, and handed it to Sunrise Sword Emperor. As soon as Sunrise Sword Emperor glanced over that, he looked quite surprised. Why don't you leave 1 nirvana elixir for yourself? It will be of great use for you in the future. Jian Wushuang obtained the 3 nirvana elixirs through a near escape, and he himself needed them too. No one would have any objection if he wanted to keep one. No. Jian Wushuang shook his head. I'm not even a Dao master currently, and there's still a long way to go if I want to reach that stage. Therefore, this elixir doesn't do much good to me. It would be better to give them to other experts in the Green Fire Palace. Perhaps this will enable the Green Fire Palace to possess 1 more palace master. Sunrise Sword Emperor raised his eyebrows and looked at those life elixirs. 29 life elixirs? It's quite a lot. Jian Wushuang smiled helplessly. He did obtain quite a few life elixirs. He had ventured this area for 17 years and attained 11 life elixirs. Moreover, he killed nearly 20 celestial masters from the Jin Kingdom in the fierce battle just now and obtained quite a few life elixirs as well. Thus he had 29 life elixirs in total. You don't have to give these life elixirs to me. When you return to the Green Fire Palace, exchange them for fire points directly in the Fire Point Exchange Office. Sunrise Sword Emperor smiled. I exchange them in the Fire Point Exchange Office? Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed. Void Temple Master had announced that a life elixir could exchange for 10,000 fire points. 29 life elixirs naturally could exchange for 290,000 fire points. This was definitely an astronomical figure. Jian Wushuang, if you don't have anything important to do on this battlefield, why don't you return to the Green Fire Palace as soon as possible? Sunrise Sword Emperor suddenly said. Return to the Green Fire Palace as soon as possible? Why? Jian Wushuang asked. You should know that our palace has controlled many places of opportunities on this battlefield. The most important ones should be the 3 secret lands. Among them, the Sword World will open again before long. Sunrise Sword Emperor explained. The Sword World is about to open? Jian Wushuang was taken aback. The most important one among the 3 secret lands was the Space-Time Secret Land. It only opened every million years. The second important one was the Sword World. The Sword World only opened every 100,000 years. Jian Wushuang was very curious about it when he heard about it for the first time. He didn't expect he would be able to enter the Sword World in a short period. But now, you have performed exceptionally meritorious services for our Green Fire Palace by acquiring 3 Nirvana elixirs, 29 life elixirs, and killing so many experts from the Jin Kingdom. Our palace always put the shoe on the right foot. We cannot offer you treasures whose value matches that of the 3 Nirvana elixirs. So after I return to the Green Fire Palace, I will discuss with other palace masters about offering you the opportunity to enter the Sword World. The Sword World means a great opportunity for warriors who major in sword principles. I've been there before, and I have gained a lot. Your talent on sword principles is even better than mine, and I believe you can obtain more benefits. Sunrise Sword Emperor smiled. Chapter 1129. The Potential to be a Leader. Chapter 1129. The Potential to be a Leader. When he learned that the Sword World was about to open, Jian Wushuang immediately returned to the Green Fire Palace without hesitation. After all, it only opened every 100,000 years. If he missed the opportunity this time, he had to wait another 100,000 years to enter it again. On the way back to the Green Fire Palace, he received a message from Celestial Master Yi and Celestial Master Meng Long. Dan Xian was indeed making fun of them. Quite a few Celestial Masters from the 2 camps followed his instructions to mine black iron on that battlefield recklessly. Within a few days, someone had gathered 500,000 kilograms of black iron. Nonetheless, when they handed the black iron to Dan Xian, he said whoever had cultivated for more than 500,000 years were not qualified to become the master of the Dan Xian Palace. Many Celestial Masters from the 2 camps had been outraged by this. Each one of the Celestial Masters here had lived a long time. 90% of them had lived for more than millions of years, and only a few had just lived for 100,000 years. As for people whose cultivation age did not exceed 500,000 years, there were few Celestial Masters in the 2 camps who met that condition. In addition, Dan Xian also said that apart from that condition, the one who wanted to be the Dan Xian Palace's master must possess great attainments on refining elixirs, and have to pass the test of the Dan Xian Palace. All of a sudden, all the Celestial Masters from the 2 camps outside the Dan Xian Palace lost the qualification. Those Celestial Masters had worked hard to mine the black iron, but they had no chance to give it a shot at last. Naturally, they flew into a rage, but could do nothing to Dan Xian. They all knew Dan Xian was a complete lunatic. He controlled the Dan Xian Palace, so they had to listen to what he had said. In short, the battle for the Dan Xian Palace had calmed down, and the Celestial Masters from the 2 camps had also left, leaving the Dan Xian Palace to stay where it was. The 2 camps had already sent some younger ones who possessed great attainments on refining elixirs here, but no one knew whether there was anyone who had become its master in the end. In a lofty palace in the Jin Kingdom. Your Excellency, this is the information about Jian Wushuang from the Green Fire World. A silver-robed man walked in. Information about Jian Wushuang? It finally comes. A barefoot bald man stood at the center of the hall. He looked cold and had eyes like a hawk. He took the information with a wave of his hand, and began to look through it carefully. More than a decade ago, when Chu Yang sent Jian Wushuang's name back to the Jin Kingdom, the senior officials of the Jin Kingdom already ordered people to investigate Jian Wushuang. However, since the Jin Kingdom's force in the Green Fire World was limited, their intelligence capabilities were naturally not so good. That was why the bald man just received the information about Jian Wushuang. After he glanced over the intelligence about Jian Wushuang, his eyes turned cold. Jian Wushuang is from the ancient world, and is indeed an eternal realm expert. Since he was born, he has been cultivating for only more than 2,000 years. The bald man felt that it was incredible. He could remain calm when learning that Jian Wushuang was only an eternal realm expert. But when he saw his cultivation age, he was shocked. 2,000 years. He killed nearly 20 celestial masters from my country in the battle of contending for life elixirs. He possesses the battle strength equivalent to that of a celestial master at the exceptional realm. But he has only cultivated for more than 2,000 years? He is so powerful now, and if he is given another 2,000 years, or even 20,000 years, how mighty will he be? Sunrise Sword Emperor is already a big headache for our country. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang has greater potential than Sunrise Sword Emperor. This barefoot bald man roared. The Jin Kingdom and the Green Fire Palace had fought with each other on this giant battlefield for 5 million years. The two sides had long been each other's sworn enemy. It seemed that the Jin Kingdom always had the absolute upper hand over so many years. In fact, be it the Jin Kingdom or the Green Fire Palace, they were clear that this situation would not last long. After all, the Jin Kingdom was an outsider who had no foundation on this battlefield. However, the Green Fire Palace had the entire Green Fire world to support it. It was deeply rooted here, and experts appeared continually. It was only a matter of time before it overtook the Jin Kingdom in strength. However, the Jin Kingdom had one greatest advantage over the Green Fire Palace. It had a leader. Its leader was its monarch, who was a supreme being in the Jin Kingdom, and always kept his promises. The Green Fire Palace, however, had never produced a leader that matched the monarch of the Jin Kingdom from its establishment till now. The Jin Kingdom surely would exploit this advantage to the full. They did not expect the Green Fire Palace to have an expert that was likely to be a leader. They had sensed a crisis the moment Jian Wushuang's mother Ji Wuming appeared many years ago. Therefore, when they learned that the Green Fire Palace was going to send her into the samsara, they immediately dispatched a large number of experts to eliminate her. That was really a horrifying battle. But in the end she entered the samsara. This made the Jin Kingdom feel terribly uneasy, because she was the first person who was qualified to be the leader of the Green Fire Palace. But fortunately, they received the news that there was something bad happened during the process, and Ji Wuming failed to be the leader of the Green Fire Palace temporarily. And the second person that upset the Jin Kingdom was Sunrise Sword Emperor. Although he was just a celestial master presently, his battle strength matched that of a universe master. Precisely speaking, he was even a little bit powerful than an ordinary universe master. If he broke through to the universe master level, he would possess the horrifying power to become the leader of the Green Fire Palace. Moreover, he had fully grown up, and it was extremely difficult for the Jin Kingdom to exterminate him in advance. That was why the Jin Kingdom would have such a headache. What was more terrible was that the barefoot bald man felt the same threat on Jian Wushuang, greater than the threat that Sunrise Sword Emperor posed to him. Sunrise Sword Emperor is indeed extraordinary, but he can only possess the battle strength to be a leader after he becomes a universe master. However, Jian Wushuang, he is so mighty even at the eternal realm. When he becomes a Tao master, he is supposed to match a common universe master. Once he integrates all his sword principles together and becomes a celestial master, he probably will possess the battle strength to be a leader. If he is lucky enough to become a universe master, maybe our monarch is no match for him. I am afraid. Chapter 1130 The Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Chapter 1130 The Blaze Quicksand Gourd. He is very likely to become a universe master, and definitely will become a celestial master. That means if he doesn't die, he is destined to be the leader of the Green Fire Palace. The barefoot bald man's eyes surged with killing intent. I cannot allow him to become a celestial master. Deliver my order. Ask Axe to fix his eyes on Jian Wushuang and do his utmost to figure out his trump cards. Then contrive a method to cooperate with other experts from the Jin Kingdom to kill him. If necessary, kill him at the risk of exposing himself. The command of the bald man was quickly conveyed. Jian Wushuang did not know that the senior officials of the Jin Kingdom had already targeted him. He headed toward the Green Fire Palace, after leaving the area where the Dan Xan Palace was at. It took him more than 20 years to return to the Green Fire Palace. I'm back. Jian Wushuang felt so good after returning to the Green Fire Palace. For the first time, he spent less than 100 years on that giant battlefield, but he had gained considerably. In terms of strength, he was much powerful than he was when he newly entered the battlefield. Jian Wushuang, go to the Fire Point Exchange office, asked Gu King. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. He was planning to go there as well. I have acquired a lot of life elixirs outside the Dan Xan Palace. They are all fire points. Jian Wushuang soon came to the Fire Point Exchange office and immediately took out the life elixirs he had obtained. He had attained 29 life elixirs, and each one of them was worth 10,000 fire points. He left 4 life elixirs in case of emergency and exchanged the rest for fire points. So he now owned a total of 250,000 fire points. I exchanged the treasures Dao Yuanzi left earlier, but only gained 13,800 fire points. Their value is inferior to 2 life elixirs. Jian Wushuang sneered. You are lucky and just happened to encounter the appearance of the Dan Xan Palace. Otherwise, there would be no chance for you to earn so many life elixirs. Moreover, these life elixirs are less valuable in the eternal chaotic world. Gu King sneered. In the eternal chaotic world, a drop of the ancient god power is much more expensive than a life elixir. But it is only worth 5,000 fire points here. Jian Wushuang was speechless. He also knew that the reason why life elixirs had such a high value was that the Green Fire Palace badly needed them currently. Nonetheless, although the ancient god power was rarely seen in the eternal chaotic world, it was much easier to be discovered on this battlefield. And that explained why its value would be so low. Alright, forget about that. Now that you possess enough fire points, there's something that you can exchange, asked Gu King. What? Jian Wushuang asked. Look at those special treasures. Gu King answered. Jian Wushuang immediately fixed his eyes on them. There were numerous treasures of all sorts with different functions in the Fire Point Exchange office. Look at the special treasure whose value ranks the second, the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Gu King answered. Oh. Jian Wushuang scanned the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. The Blaze Quicksand Gourd contains a lot of blaze quicksands and a secret skill. It can form a realm to suppress your enemy and trap him. It costs 210,000 fire points. It's so expensive. Jian Wushuang gasped in shock. He sold 25 life elixirs and only received 250,000 fire points. But this Blaze Quicksand Gourd would cost him 210,000 fire points. Even a chaos magic treasure would not demand such an exorbitant price. There are a few good things in the Fire Point Exchange office. I have observed them and discovered the Blaze Quicksand Gourd when you first came here. Unfortunately, it costs too many fire points and you couldn't afford it before, so I didn't mention it. Now, however, you can exchange it since you own enough fire points, asked Gu King. It should be a treasure that uses realm to suppress others from its introduction. It indeed is useful to me, but don't you think it demands an excessively high price? Is it really worth of so many fire points? Jian Wushuang could not help but ask. Yes, of course. Gu King continued. Boy, although you haven't been to the eternal chaotic world, you know that chaos gems are the transaction currency there. Normally, the whole fortune of a celestial master is about 20 chaos gems. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded. He killed Dao Yuanzi and attained a few chaos gems. But do you know how many chaos gems does the Blaze Quicksand Gourd cost in the eternal chaotic world? Asked Gu King. How many? Jian Wushuang asked. At least 400,000 chaos gems. Even if someone is willing to pay a high price for it, there are simply not so many blaze quicksand gourds on the market. Gu King answered. What? Jian Wushuang was astonished. He had never been to the eternal chaotic world, and did not have a throughout understanding of the value of the chaos gem. But he could judge its value from the total fortune of a celestial master. A celestial master's fortune was worth around 20 chaos gems. 400,000 chaos gems were 20,000 times of that. The blaze quicksand gourd is indeed very precious, like the Jin kingdom. Although its monarch is powerful, even if you sell him, he isn't worth 400,000 chaos gems, under normal circumstances. However, the Green Fire Palace and the Jin kingdom have obtained plenty of opportunities and treasures on this giant battlefield, and thus, their wealth cannot be judged by common sense. But in any case, using 210,000 fire points to exchange the blaze quicksand gourd is absolutely worthwhile, asked Gu King. That will be good. Jian Wushuang smiled. My strength meets a bottleneck now. If I want to improve it, I can only make a breakthrough in sword principles. I'm required to advance the first sword principle to the highest level and become a Dao master. I assume there won't be any external treasures that enable my strength to increase by leaps and bounds. In terms of defensive ability, I possess the blood-killing plate armor and the golden image secret skill. So this aspect cannot be improved either. Now the only thing I can promote is the special skill used for self-saving and killing enemies. The blaze quicksand gourd suits me well. Neither Jian Wushuang's attack nor his defense could be improved presently. Naturally, he could only perfect the special skills that enabled him to kill enemies. Chapter 1131. Announcing the result. Chapter 1131. Announcing the result. After making the decision, Jian Wushuang immediately spent 210,000 fire points to exchange the blaze quicksand gourd. Later he returned to his residence. He sat cross-legged in the secret chamber alone. Jian Wushuang, this is a high-grade blaze quicksand gourd. Although you have obtained it, you still have to take a lot of effort to refine it. As for the secret skill in it, it is even harder for you to cultivate. You should refine the blaze quicksand gourd first, asked Gu King. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded, and then began to refine it. Just as he was refining the blaze quicksand gourd, a big event took place in the Green Fire Palace. Right on this day, Sunrise Sword Emperor, one of the palace masters of the Green Fire Palace, directly announced the person who was qualified to enter the sword world 40 years later. The Green Fire Palace controlled 3 secret lands, which opened at set intervals, and only one person was allowed to enter. Therefore, people vied for the opportunity to enter them crazily. Take the sword world for example. It only opened every 100,000 years. Thus, the experts who specialized in sword principles were all waiting for that chance. Now, however, Sunrise Sword Emperor announced the owner of that chance personally. It turned out to be Jian Wushuang. All of a sudden, the entire Green Fire Palace was thrown in turmoil. It actually is Jian Wushuang. He has just joined the Green Fire Palace for less than 100 years. Who said that the decisive factor to get into the sword world is the time one has spent in the Green Fire Palace? Nan had been to the space-time secret land, although he has only stayed in the Green Fire Palace for a short period. Although Jian Wushuang has just stayed in the Green Fire Palace for a very short period, he has made great progress. He killed about 20 experts from the Jin Kingdom at one go in the battle of scrambling for the Dan Xian Palace. Moreover, he has seized 3 Nirvana elixirs under the nose of the Jin Kingdom's experts. He has made great contributions to our Green Fire Palace, and I argue that this opportunity is the reward for his hard work. Our Green Fire Palace has always put the shoe on the right foot. Since he has made contributions, and his gift in sword principles is fantastic, he will surely gain a great deal after returning from the sword world. Maybe his strength will skyrocket again, and reach the level of that of our palace masters. Many celestial masters discussed that in the Green Fire Palace. However, generally, there was no one questioning Jian Wushuang anymore. After all, in the battle for the Dan Xian Palace, Jian Wushuang had proved himself with absolute strength. Currently, celestial masters in the Green Fire Palace did not dare to belittle him. On the contrary, quite a few celestial masters secretly admired him at the bottom of their hearts. Jian Wushuang did deserve their admiration. The celestial masters in the Green Fire Palace accepted the decision to offer Jian Wushuang the opportunity to enter the sword world. By the way, I heard that not long ago, several temple masters had the intention to let Celestial Master of Malignity enter the sword world, but now Jian Wushuang gained that opportunity. How about Celestial Master of Malignity? They just planned to do so, but have not made up their mind. And now that Jian Wushuang obtained this opportunity, he, of course, can only wait for the next time. The next time? To wait another 100,000 years? Celestial Master of Malignity is by no means good-tempered. I don't know if he will cause Jian Wushuang trouble, or not after learning the news. These celestial masters sighed with emotion. In an enormous palace in the Green Fire Palace, Celestial Master of Malignity received the information Sunrise Sword Emperor sent to him as well. As those celestial masters expected, he flew into a rage immediately. Bastard! This opportunity is mine. Tens of thousands of years ago, the 5 palace masters have reached a consensus in their hearts. Not long ago, I also personally asked Senior Sister Red Lotus about that, and she told me that they would offer me this opportunity, but now, Celestial Master of Malignity looked ferocious and took out a token. Senior Sister, I need an explanation. Celestial Master of Malignity sent out the message. The 5th Palace Master of the Green Fire Palace was Red Lotus. She and Celestial Master of Malignity were born in the same era, and they came from the same sect, hence, she was Celestial Master of Malignity's senior sister. This is the decision made by the other 4 Palace Masters. Although I tried my best to oppose it, I have to follow the rules. Red Lotus replied. Red Lotus did not think much of Jian Wushuang. When the 5 Palace Masters gathered in the ancient monster clan, and Jian Nantian demanded to take Ji Wuming away, Red Lotus planned to take actions directly. He trusted neither Jian Nantian nor Jian Wushuang. Unfortunately, only she insisted to do that. The other 4 Palace Masters chose to believe Jian Nantian and Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang joined the Green Fire Palace and experienced the battle for the Dan Xian Palace, his fame soared. Furthermore, his potential and strength convinced many celestial masters in the Green Fire Palace. Nevertheless, Red Lotus still held on to her own opinion. She opposed strongly when Sunrise Sword Emperor proposed to offer the opportunity to enter the sword world to Jian Wushuang. But the other 4 agreed, so she had no other choice. Jian Wushuang. It's Jian Wushuang's fault. How long has he been in the Green Fire Palace? Didn't he just attain a few Nirvana elixirs in the battle for the Dan Xian Palace? Except for that, how can he compare with me? Why should I wait for another 100,000 years instead of him? Celestial Master of Malignity roared crazily, and his roars resounded through the entire palace. After a short while his eyes turned scarlet. Jian Wushuang, I'd like to see what are you capable of. After finishing speaking, he stood up and walked straight out of the palace. Jian Wushuang still sat cross-legged in the secret chamber quietly, and a gold gourd floated in front of him. It was not big, just like an ordinary wine gourd, but it exuded an extremely unique aura. As Jian Wushuang lifted his eyebrows, a special mark was left on the gourd. In an instant, he had a connection with the gourd. I succeeded. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, from which visibly pleasant surprise was revealed. Great, you've refined the blaze quicksand gourd. You should be able to control the blaze quicksands in the gourd, said Gu King. Of course. Jian Wushuang nodded and could clearly sense the enormous and terrifying force contained in the gourd. It was the blaze quicksand. It appeared to be a gourd, but in fact, there was a vast space where blaze quicksands could be seen everywhere in the gourd. Chapter 1132 Battle Invitation. Chapter 1132 Battle Invitation. Virum, Jian Wushuang thought, and the blaze quicksand instantly burst out from the gourd. Rumble. The crimson blaze quicksand covered the sky and earth. There were rays of flame that flowed along with the quicksand too. They flowed in all directions like a storm. The secret chamber that Jian Wushuang was instantly shattered into powder. The terrifying force made the entire void collapse. So scary. Jian Wushuang was astonished at the sight. Everywhere that the blaze quicksand passed was destroyed and vanished. Its strangling power was extremely terrifying. Such a terrifying strangling power. Even if a celestial master was caught in it, I'm afraid he would be torn into pieces too, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Just then King of Venomous Worms spoke. To begin with, blaze quicksand is a scary substance in eternal chaotic world. The blaze quicksand gourd was made by some powerful weapon refinery masters. They gathered blaze quicksand together and refined it into this gourd. The moment you refine this gourd, you can control the blaze quicksand in it to fight against your enemy. On top of that, you are only a beginner in refining this gourd. You can only forcefully drive the blaze quicksand to kill your enemy, which is the dumbest way to do it. If you were to master the secret skill within the gourd, you would be able to control the blaze quicksand and use the regional skill. With the regional skill, you wouldn't even have to take any action, but the strangling power of the blaze quicksand would kill any advanced celestial masters who fall within. Without any action I can kill an advanced celestial master? Jian Wushuang's eyes were wide open. One should know that an advanced celestial master wasn't considered weak when it came to defense skill. Jian Wushuang massacred many experts from Jin Kingdom during the fight of Dan Xian Palace because he knew the sheer shadow technique. However, there were hardly any advanced celestial masters. Once Jian Wushuang ran into those advanced celestial master with strong consciousness, he would find them hard to kill. But then, with the assistance of blaze quicksand gourd, it was very simple to kill an advanced celestial master. Even if he were a celestial master in exceptional realm, he might die by his hand if his power wasn't as great. This treasure lives up to its value of 210,000 fire points. This blaze quicksand gourd is really impressive. However, if this is such an impressive treasure, why didn't the few palace masters in Green Fire Palace exchange it? They left it at Firepoint Exchange Office? Jian Wushuang was curious. He didn't think further, but quickly put the blaze quicksand gourd away. The moment he put it away, the secret chamber quickly repaired itself. On the piece of land where Green Fire Palace was located, any buildings and plants could recover themselves. Then, Jian Wushuang was preparing to study the secret skill within the blaze quicksand gourd, but suddenly, Jian Wushuang. There was a deep voice. Jian Wushuang lifted his head and went ahead to greet. Celestial Master Yuding. Jian Wushuang saw the incomer, Celestial Master Yuding, who invited him to Green Fire Palace back then. Haha, Jian Wushuang. How long has it been since I brought you to Green Fire Palace? You've already gained such fame on the battlefield. Haha, everyone knows you in Green Fire Palace. Celestial Master Yuding laughed. Jian Wushuang chuckled and replied, Celestial Master Yuding, you didn't come here to tell me this, right? Well, I didn't. Celestial Master Yuding became solemn and continued, Jian Wushuang, to be frank, I am here by a request. By a request? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Someone told me to give you this. Take a look. Celestial Master Yuding passed Jian Wushuang a jade slip. Jian Wushuang took and went through it simply with his consciousness. Then his gaze grew strange. This is a battle invitation. Exactly. The content of the jade slip suggested a battle invitation. It was a battle invitation from Celestial Master Malignity. He invited Jian Wushuang to fight at Oblivion Palace. The battle invitation contained an intensely mocking and provocative tone. Celestial Master Malignity. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows and asked confusedly, I don't know Celestial Master Malignity, and I share no resentment with him. Why did he send me a battle invitation out of nowhere? Jian Wushuang, you share no resentment with Celestial Master Malignity, but to be exact, you did offend him. Celestial Master Yuding replied. I offended him? When? Jian Wushuang was still confused. Didn't Sunrise Sword Emperor just announce that he'd give you the quota to enter Sword World? Celestial Master Yuding looked at him. Yes, he did. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly. Sunrise Sword Emperor told him that outside Dan Xan Palace earlier. He had also received an announcement from Sunrise Sword Emperor earlier. But what did it have to do with Celestial Master Malignity? Well, Celestial Master Malignity is also a sword cultivator, and he is extremely gifted. On top of that, his senior was Palace Master Red Lotus. Hence, he was qualified to enter Sword World. Before you appear, the 5 Palace Masters once discussed and intended to give him the quota to enter Sword World. But now, because you have appeared, the Palace Masters passed you the quota to enter Sword World. Hence, he will have to wait for the next round, which is in another 100,000 years. Tell me now, did you offend him? Celestial Master smiled. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He had never expected the quota to enter Sword World that he was given had originally belonged to Celestial Master Malignity. Sword World only opened every 100,000 years. Celestial Master Malignity had waited for so long, and it was finally his turn. But because of him, Celestial Master Malignity had to wait until the next opening, which would be in another 100,000 years. One should know that 100,000 years weren't short to Celestial Master Malignity. It would be normal if he was angry. When Sunrise Sword Emperor said that he is going to give me the quota, he never mentioned that it belonged to someone else, Jian Wushuang said. Although the few Palace Masters have the intention, they never confirmed it after all. Hence it wasn't counted. Celestial Master Yuding laughed. Jian Wushuang shrugged. Even so, Celestial Master Malignity blamed him, and it was a fact. Otherwise, why would he tell Celestial Master Yuding to send him a battle invitation on behalf? Jian Wushuang, Celestial Master Malignity isn't happy about it. Hence he challenged you. He is also very smart about it. He already spread this news when he sent this invitation. Hence, almost all Celestial Masters in Greenfire Palace know that he sent you a battle invitation. If you were to not take up this challenge, there would be people who gossip. If you were to take up this challenge, Celestial Master Malignity isn't weak, Celestial Master Yuding said solemnly. Chapter 1133. Inside Oblivion Palace. Chapter 1133. Inside Oblivion Palace. He must have spread the word about the invitation. It seems that Celestial Master Malignity has made full preparation and is very confident, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Of course he's confident, Celestial Master Yuding said. Celestial Master Malignity has become renowned for a long time ago. He's a long-time Celestial Master of the exceptional realm with exceptional speed. Even the Celestial Masters of Greenfire Palace are no match for him in terms of speed, and many Celestial Masters of the exceptional realm couldn't even defeat him because of that. In addition, the fight will be carried out inside Oblivion Palace. It's a vacant space without obstacles of any kind, allowing him to go full speed. Speed? Celestial Master Yuding, are you saying that his speed is his forte? Jian Wushuang's expression turned strange. He had just obtained the Blaze Quicksand Gourd, which could be used to control the Blaze Quicksand. It was the best weapon to restrict his opponent's speed. Now there was an expert with incredible speed coming to him for a fierce battle. It seemed like the perfect time for him to practice the Blaze Quicksand. Will you accept the invitation? Yuding asked. Of course. Jian Wushuang nodded without hesitation. It's better to start early. Let's go, Yuding said. Okay. Jian Wushuang followed after Yuding. Together, they headed for Oblivion Palace. Oblivion Palace was located on the same land as Greenfire Palace. It looked like an ordinary palace, but its interior was an endless space that was enough to allow 2 universe masters to battle to their heart's content, let alone 2 celestial masters. There was already a crowd outside Oblivion Palace when Jian Wushuang and Yuding got there. Numerous Greenfire Palace experts stood there, talking in groups of 2s or 3s. When Jian Wushuang showed up, they all turned to look in his direction. Here comes Jian Wushuang. Haha, he really showed up. See, I told you he won't refuse the invitation. Jian Wushuang is incredibly skillful. He might not necessarily lose to Celestial Master Malignity. Of course he won't refuse it. The experts looked on, their excitement building. They had been worried that Jian Wushuang might not accept the invitation, but it seemed like their worries were unnecessary. Jian Wushuang, Celestial Master Malignity has been waiting for you inside Oblivion Palace. You can go in now, Yiding said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded and then entered the palace. It was dark and vast inside. The palace seemed boundless without an end. A purple-haired man in a luxurious robe stood tall in the dark void. He had his arms folded as he waited quietly for Jian Wushuang's arrival. Before long, the scarlet-robed Jian Wushuang appeared before the purple-haired man with a sword in hand. So you're Jian Wushuang. Celestial Master Malignity's eyes gleamed with purple light, his gaze fixed on Jian Wushuang. Celestial Master Malignity. Jian Wushuang wore a kind smile on his face. There was no grudge between them in the first place. Celestial Master Malignity's anger was understandable, as Jian Wushuang took a spot, which was supposed to be his. Humph! I heard that you've made a name for yourself on the battlefield, and even earned the praise and approval of the 5 palace masters. Sunrise Sword Emperor even suggested adding your name to the world of swords. Celestial Master Malignity clenched his fists tightly. Celestial Master Malignity? I didn't know that before. Jian Wushuang began to explain himself. Stop with the nonsense. Celestial Master Malignity waved his hand. Since you're so strong, show me what you've got. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand again and tossed a token. Jian Wushuang's expression changed as he looked quizzically at the token that Celestial Master Malignity tossed aside. He could recognize that token. It was used to record the mirror image. People outside Oblivion Palace could not see what was going on inside. If Celestial Master Malignity were to record the battle, it was evident that he wanted to make it public. It seems that Celestial Master Malignity hates me so much that he intends to embarrass me in front of the public. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile. He was not worried at all. Meanwhile, outside the palace, 2 people stood side by side. They were evidently Sunrise Sword Emperor and Palace Master Red Lotus, who had just hurried over from the battlefield. While others could not see what happened inside Oblivion Palace, they could see through everything. Celestial Master Malignity has such a bad temper. Red Lotus, won't you advise him as his senior sister? Sunrise Sword Emperor frowned. He's supposed to be listed in the world of swords, but Jian Wushuang stole his place. You can't blame him for getting angry over it. Anyone else would have done the same. Besides, my junior brother simply wants to vent his rage. He isn't going to kill him, Red Lotus replied coldly. It was my idea to give the spot to Jian Wushuang. He didn't know about it. If Celestial Master Malignity isn't happy with it, he can come to me anytime. You're not just a palace master. You're also someone with the potential to be the future leader of Greenfire Palace. Do you seriously think that my junior brother will dare to come to you? Red Lotus chuckled. It's too late to talk about this now. Jian Wushuang is as unruly as his father. Isn't this the perfect chance to rectify his insolence? Haha, can Celestial Master Malignity teach him a lesson? I don't think so. Sunrise Sword Emperor laughed. What? You think that Celestial Master Malignity can't do anything to the kid? Don't forget that his speed is ranked first among all Celestial Masters. Fighting in Oblivion Palace also gives him an advantage. Even if Jian Wushuang has the strength of a Celestial Master of the Exceptional Realm, he'll still lose, Red Lotus said. Do you want to make a bet? Sunrise Sword Emperor glanced at Red Lotus. What would you like to bet? Red Lotus asked. Not too long ago, I heard you acquired a red source stone weighing over 6 kilograms from the battlefield. I might need it, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Deal. If you lose, I want you to tutor my junior brother for a year. You must also give him the spot for the World of Swords when it opens in 100,000 years later, Red Lotus said. No problem, Sunrise Sword Emperor answered without hesitation. After the bet had been made, the two of them looked down at Oblivion Palace. Inside the palace, the battle between Jian Wushuang and Celestial Master Malignity had already begun. Chapter 1134. Blaze Quicksand displays its might. Chapter 1134. Blaze Quicksand displays its might. Jian Wushuang, I'll teach you how to respect your seniors. Even as Celestial Master Malignity's voice echoed throughout Oblivion Palace, he was already making a dash forward. He moved so swiftly that it felt as if the long distance was nothing. He appeared before Jian Wushuang in a flash. A dazzling arc of ice-cold sword light sliced through the void, aiming at Jian Wushuang almost instantly. His speed, Jian Wushuang was shocked. Though he had been told that Celestial Master Malignity could be extremely fast, he was still astonished by the terrifying display of speed. He had the battle prowess of Celestial Master of the Exceptional Realm, but he could not tell when Celestial Master Malignity drew his sword. The cold sword light was coming for him. As much as he wanted to block the incoming attack, he could not react any further. He drew his Blood Mountain sword to block it from piercing his chest. Clang! A deep crashing noise resounded as the power contained in the cold sword light sent him tumbling backward. Jian Wushuang, I haven't even gone all out against you yet. Celestial Master Malignity's voice resounded. Jian Wushuang's expression darkened. Suddenly, his pupils constricted in surprise. He saw Celestial Master Malignity rushing out with a greater speed this time. It was so fast that he could not hide his astonishment. Once again, Celestial Master Malignity appeared before him, and shot him with numerous beams of sword light. The sharp and cold sword lights flew out one after another. Right then, it was as if Jian Wushuang had been trapped by the sea of sword light beams. They were everywhere with no gaps between the sword strikes. He moves quickly, but his sword is even faster. Jian Wushuang's heart pounded furiously as he waved his sword to fend off the attacks. Likewise, he fully unleashed his speed sword principle and swung his Blood Mountain sword forward at an amazing speed. Clang! 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 A series of crashing sounds filled the air like thunder. This! Jian Wushuang's eyes went wide with disbelief. He thought that the speed sword principle that he developed would surpass every other Celestial Master. But now, Celestial Master Malignity's swordsmanship was evidently much faster than his when fully unleashed. It was now a competition of speed for them. Celestial Master Malignity evidently had the upper hand over Jian Wushuang. It was difficult enough to defend himself, never mind matching up to Celestial Master Malignity. I'm barely hanging on. Jian Wushuang wore a grave expression. One of the sword lights sent out by Celestial Master Malignity had gotten through the gap of his defense, stabbing towards his chest. There was no way he could dodge it. Boom! The sharp sword light slammed into his chest, and the immense force sent him tumbling backward. It took him a while to regain his balance. Red Lotus smiled faintly when she saw this scene. Sunrise Sword Emperor, you're going to lose. Be patient. The battle has just started. It's too soon to tell. Sunrise Sword Emperor replied coldly. Red Lotus snorted. You're not convinced yet? Well, let's see how Jian Wushuang will play the game. Inside Oblivion Palace, Celestial Master Malignity turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, is that all you've got? Celestial Master Malignity smirked and said disdainfully, I heard that you killed a number of Celestial Master experts of the Jin Kingdom during a battle in the Loyalty Palace. Perhaps they were all just a bunch of rubbish? If you encounter a stronger opponent, I guess that you'll have no choice but run away. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Celestial Master Malignity's speed is indeed incredible. It's no surprise that his speed ranked first among everyone in the Greenfire Palace. Although I've managed to develop the swordplay of speed, I still can't match him in speed. He shook his head. He knew that he lagged behind in terms of speed. The fact that there was no obstruction in Oblivion Palace also gave his opponent a better advantage. If Celestial Master Malignity were to maintain such speed, there would be nothing that he could do. Eventually, he would be defeated. Suddenly, A smirk spread across his face. There is no doubt that I'll be crushed if I fought Celestial Master Malignity before, but now. Jian Wushuang, behave yourself and take this. Celestial Master Malignity howled in a low voice. He swiftly dashed into motion again. His figure appeared to be an illusionary flowing light going through the void. His speed was unprecedented that none of the celestial masters of exceptional realm could match up to. Other ordinary celestial masters could not even think about it. Celestial Master Malignity was peerless even if his opponents were celestial masters of the exceptional realm. Unfortunately, his rival was Jian Wushuang this time. Seeing that Celestial Master Malignity had dashed toward him again, Jian Wushuang flipped his arm, and a golden gourd appeared in his hand. Oh! Celestial Master Malignity's expression flickered. He had noticed Jian Wushuang's action but paid no heed to it. Meanwhile, outside Oblivion Palace, the mere sight of the golden gourd caused Master Red Lotus pupils to constrict. That is, holding the golden gourd in hand, Jian Wushuang pulled the cork with the strength of his thought. A wave of terrifying power immediately erupted from the gourd. As it rumbled, seemingly endless quicksand surged out from the opening of the gourd. The quicksand carried a blue flame and contained enormous power. It swiftly swept across the surroundings and engulfed the entire Oblivion Palace in no time. The blaze quicksand pervaded the entire area of the vast void of Oblivion Palace. What's this? Celestial Master Malignity quickly halted to a stop. He frowned and looked around at the vast expanse of blaze quicksand. A bad feeling instantly loomed over him. Jian Wushuang grinned. A wild wind was raving under his control. Suddenly, the blaze quicksand turned into a sandstorm, blasting towards Celestial Master Malignity. Crap! Celestial Master Malignity's face took on a ghastly expression. He tried to move away to dodge the sandstorm. Soon, he found out that the sandstorm was unavoidable. It blasted out in all directions, sweeping through any obstacle barring its path. No matter where he went, the sandstorm would emerge in front of him and surge towards him. Celestial Master Malignity wielded his longsword recklessly, sending out brutal sword essence one after another. He continued struggling against the sandstorm. Suddenly, a ruthless sword light was unleashed by Celestial Master Malignity, ripping up the sandstorm before him. As soon as the sandstorm was broken, a figure charged at him. It was Jian Wushuang. Heaven's Bane. Jian Wushuang wore a cold expression. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand unleashed a terrifying burst of power, getting closer and closer to his opponent. Humph! Celestial Master Malignity snorted, and immediately wielded his sword to fend off the attack. Boom! Celestial Master Malignity was sent flying backward following the loud explosion. He then slammed into the sandstorm behind him. Chapter 1135, Gain the Upper Hand? Chapter 1135, Gain the Upper Hand? Boom! The sandstorm burst open, and Celestial Master Malignity reappeared. Jian Wushuang grinned. Celestial Master Malignity, your speed is indeed incredible, but you're much weaker than mine strength-wise. It was true that in terms of speed, Celestial Master Malignity was the fastest among all Celestial Masters that he had ever met. However, speaking of offensive power, Celestial Master Malignity was just a little better than an advanced Celestial Master. He was still way below any other Celestial Master of the exceptional realm. When he unleashed Heaven's Bane, Celestial Master Malignity was immediately rendered to a distinct disadvantage, since it was a competition of power. Bastard! Celestial Master Malignity looked gloomy. He looked at the blaze quicksand that had engulfed the entire Oblivion Palace. He could feel the terrifying power surging from it. His heart raced as his eyes tracked the blaze quicksand. Celestial Master Malignity, let's see who the loser will be. Jian Wushuang chuckled as he sprang into motion. Celestial Master Malignity moved at the same time. The sandstorm appeared in front of him the moment he moved, blasting him with ferocious power. Damn it! Celestial Master Malignity cursed. He had to stop moving to fend off the sandstorm. However, after being fended off for one time, the sandstorm came blasting again. It came one after another, seemingly without an end. Under the impact of the sandstorm, he could hardly exert his speed. On the contrary, Jian Wushuang could attack as he wished. They were no longer competing in terms of speed, but power instead. If he was not threatened by the blaze quicksand, he could easily dodge Jian Wushuang's attack. But now, he could not do anything. He could only withstand with all his might. When they were fighting head-on, the sword power of Jian Wushuang was way stronger than him. Boom, 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 boom. Rumbling sounds continued to reverberate in Oblivion Palace. Several breaths later, swoosh, Celestial Master Malignity was sent tumbling backward once again. He looked absolutely miserable with his face ashen, and blood oozing out of the corners of his mouth. He was evidently badly injured. Jian Wushuang continued to emanate a vigorous aura, and his battle prowess was still in peak condition. Celestial Master Malignity, are you convinced now? Jian Wushuang stood before Celestial Master Malignity, with a smug smile on his face. Damn! Celestial Master Malignity fixed his gaze at Jian Wushuang. His resentment was rapidly building. He was not convinced at all. He was angry with the fact that the spot to enter the world of swords was given to Jian Wushuang. To make things worse, he could not hurt Jian Wushuang even for a bit. Instead, Jian Wushuang even defeated him. Ever since Jian Wushuang utilized the blaze quicksand gourd, it posed a big obstacle in Celestial Master Malignity's attempt to make use of his speed. Under such circumstance, the strength of Celestial Master Malignity could only be considered slightly better than that of an advanced Celestial Master. Without his speed, he could do nothing but get defeated. When Sunrise Sword Emperor said he'd give me the spot to enter the world of swords to me, I didn't know that you were one of the candidates. I didn't mean to take your place. If you don't believe me, you can ask Sunrise Sword Emperor about it, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. I know that you're angry, but things happen. Either way, I won't hand you the spot as you wish. If you're still unconvinced, you can pick another fight with me. But let me remind you that you're definitely not powerful enough to defeat me now. He then returned the blaze quicksand to the golden gourd, and left without sparing Celestial Master Malignity another glance. Celestial Master Malignity stood there quivering as he watched Jian Wushuang leave. His heart was filled with frustrations. The 5 palace masters commanded the utmost authority in Green Fire Palace. There was nothing he could do if they had decided to let Jian Wushuang enter the world of swords. He just wanted to mess with Jian Wushuang to vent his rage and frustration. But in the end, he did not even teach Jian Wushuang a lesson, and suffered defeat instead. Meanwhile, numerous celestial masters had gathered outside Oblivion Palace to wait for the result. It has been quite some time. Don't you think the battle between Jian Wushuang and Celestial Master Malignity should have ended by now? Who do you think will be the winner? Do you still have to ask? Of course it'd be Celestial Master Malignity. I agree. His speed gives him an absolute advantage from the beginning. The Celestial Masters chatted among themselves, most of them believing that the winner of the battle would be Celestial Master Malignity. After all, Celestial Master Malignity had made a name for himself a long time ago. His incredible display of speed was also well known. After a while, Jian Wushuang stepped out of Oblivion Palace. The Green Fire Palace experts immediately turned to look in his direction. Jian Wushuang is out. Why is he the one to come out first? What about Celestial Master Malignity? Jian Wushuang looks calm, and his aura is steady. It seems like he isn't injured. They all wore strange expressions. Celestial Master Yuding came to Jian Wushuang and asked with a smile, "What's the outcome?" The result? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. You can ask Celestial Master Malignity when he comes out. I'll be leaving first. He ignored the other Celestial Masters and headed for his residence. Those Celestial Masters continued to wait around. Soon, Celestial Master Malignity walked out. They noticed that Celestial Master Malignity had a bitter expression on his face. Celestial Master Malignity, what's the outcome? Celestial Master Malignity, Didn't you tell us that you would record the battle with the mirror token? Where is it? A celestial master came to ask him. The mirror token? Celestial Master Malignity's face darkened. I didn't use the mirror token. What? The celestial masters asked in disbelief. When they received the message, Celestial Master Malignity had clearly said that he would use the mirror token to record the battle. Jian Wushuang is indeed powerful. He gained the upper hand in this battle. That was all Celestial Master Malignity had to say. He ignored the rest of the questions and left immediately. A commotion broke out outside Oblivion Palace. The upper hand. Did Celestial Master Malignity say that Jian Wushuang gained the upper hand? Did he really admit it? How could it be possible? Not losing the battle would be the best result that Jian Wushuang could hope for. How could it be possible that he even gained the upper hand? He didn't even show us the mirror token. Is it true that Jian Wushuang only gained the upper hand? Is there more to the story? These celestial masters could not stop thinking about it. Nearly all of them thought that Jian Wushuang would lose the battle, but the result had turned out so differently. Chapter 1136 Golden Axe. Chapter 1136 Golden Axe. Red Lotus and Sunrise Sword Emperor hovered above Oblivion Palace. Give me the red source stone, Sunrise Sword Emperor said, beaming. The corner of Red Lotus' mouth twitched as she took out the stone with a wave of her hand and handed it to him. Did you already know that Jian Wushuang has exchanged for the Blaze Quicksand Gourd? She asked, staring fixedly at him. Yes, and so do the other 3 palace masters. Sunrise Sword Emperor smiled. We all think that he has so much potential that he might end up becoming the future leader of Green Fire Palace. We have been keeping an eye on him, and naturally know what treasures he exchanged for in the Fire Points exchange office. You, however, look down on him and wouldn't be inclined to pay him any mind. Of course you wouldn't know about that. Red Lotus snorted, but did not rebut him. Instead she said, Blaze Quicksand Gourd is an extraordinary treasure. The only reason we sold it is that we have our unique treasures, and have no use for it. I didn't think he would exchange for it. If I'm not mistaken, the gourd is worth over 200,000 fire points. He hasn't even been in Green Fire Palace for long. Where did he get all those points? Jian Wushuang obtained many divine soul pills back when Dan Xian Palace came to the world. It's more than enough to cover the cost of the gourd, Sunrise Sword Emperor answered. Is that so? Red Lotus nodded and then snorted again. The kid sure is lucky. Then, her figure turned illusory and vanished. Sunrise Sword Emperor followed suit shortly after. Back in Green Fire Palace, Celestial Master Malignity had yet to return to his residence. Celestial Master Malignity. A figure came chasing after him. Yes. Malignity turned around. When he saw who it was, his expression relaxed. It's you, Celestial Master Golden Axe. How may I help you? He asked. Golden Axe was a short and stout old man with a mellow face and amiable smile. He left a good expression on all those who met him for the first time. Their relationship was decent. Thus, Malignity showed him a little more courtesy. Nothing much. I'm just curious about what happened in Oblivion Palace. Golden Axe chuckled. Well, Malignity frowned. He would not have been polite if some other celestial master asked him this, but this was Golden Axe after all. He was a comrade that went through life and death with him on the huge battlefield. It's a bit embarrassing. I wanted to teach Jian Wushuang a lesson, but he's stronger than expected. Moreover, he's also equipped with a powerful treasure, Malignity explained. Treasure? What is it? Golden Axe asked. All I know is that it's a golden gourd that pours out a massive amount of quicksand. It's terrifying. The quicksand formed one sandstorm after another to attack me, preventing me from moving at full speed. That was how he gained the upper hand. Though he said that Jian Wushuang gained the upper hand, the truth was that Jian Wushuang had defeated him. I see. Golden Axe frowned. Celestial Master Malignity, the mirror token. I've already told you that I didn't use the mirror token, Malignity said in a low and deep voice. It was a lie, of course. He had used the mirror token since the very beginning, and clearly recorded the course of the battle. He would not have minded circulating the mirror image if it was an easy victory over Jian Wushuang. However, he would not be so stupid as to show scenes of his embarrassing defeat to others. I see. Then I shall ask no further, Golden Axe said, face full of smiles. Malignity nodded and took his leave. Meanwhile, Golden Axe headed for Jian Wushuang's mansion. My young friend Jian Wushuang, I'm Golden Axe. I'm here to visit you. Jian Wushuang had just returned to his mansion. His expression changed after hearing the old man's booming voice. Golden Axe? Celestial Master Golden Axe? He knew some of the celestial masters of Green Fire Palace. Naturally, he had heard of Golden Axe. Golden Axe kept an incredibly low profile. He was never one to flaunt or easily get into fights with other celestial masters of Green Fire Palace. Moreover, he was truly a good-natured, kind person. Both his temper and public reputation was equally as good. Typically, he would not refuse requests from those in Green Fire Palace, be it lending fire points or researching formations. Even if other celestial masters were in danger on the battlefield and asked for his help, he would also spare no effort in trying to rescue them, even at the expense of his life. If other celestial masters harmed his interests or wronged him, he would usually smile and let it go as long as it was not too serious an offense. He was candid, loyal, and incredibly generous. Even though he was only an advanced celestial master, the others respected him greatly. They were all delighted to befriend him. Hence, he enjoyed the greatest popularity in Green Fire Palace. Jian Wushuang immediately came out to welcome Golden Axe when he learned that the latter was his guest. I'm Jian Wushuang. Nice to meet you, Celestial Master Golden Axe, Jian Wushuang said humbly. Haha, my young friend, you're too polite. You're stronger than me. I don't deserve such etiquette. Golden Axe laughed amiably. If you don't mind, you can call me Golden Axe or Brother Golden Axe. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. Brother Golden Axe, please come in. He led Golden Axe into the mansion, and the two of them sat down by a table. With a wave of his hand, he took out some fine wine and dishes. My young friend, I come to seek a friendship with you. I'm also curious about your battle with Celestial Master Malignity, Golden Axe said. There was nothing important about the battle. I simply got lucky and gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang deflected the topic with a short and simple sentence. Oh. Golden Axe asked no further. He began chatting with Jian Wushuang about the other matters in Green Fire Palace instead. After drinking and chatting for half a day, Golden Axe Celestial Master finally stood up and was about to leave. Chapter 1137 Quicksand Realm. Chapter 1137 Quicksand Realm. This is my message token, my young friend. Let me know if there is anything I can do for you. Celestial Master Golden Axe handed Jian Wushuang a message token, and then took his leave. Take care. Jian Wushuang saw him off. Now alone, Jian Wushuang turned the message token over in his hand, with a strange smile on his face. Celestial Master Golden Axe sure is a good person. He treats me so warmly though we've just met. He smiled, having had a favorable impression of Golden Axe. Gu King snorted. He would have died many times over if you put him in the eternal chaotic world. He sure is lucky to have survived for several million years in Green Fire Palace. Well, Jian Wushuang was stupefied. He knew how cruel this world could be. People like Golden Axe typically would not survive long here. Yet Golden Axe became an exception to the rule. Putting him aside, I've just fought Celestial Master Malignity and learned the true power of the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. I need to find a way to cultivate the secret skill concealed in the gourd. Only then will I be able to master the real Blaze Quicksand Realm, Jian Wushuang murmured. He then returned to his secret chamber and began isolating himself. Meanwhile, Golden Axe did not travel far away from Jian Wushuang's mansion before stopping midair. He glanced at the mansion, a cold and insidious expression taking over his typically amicable face. Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect he'd acquire such an extraordinary treasure after just returning from the battlefield. To think it could even restrict Celestial Master Malignity's speed. His defense will be enhanced even further with such a treasure. Looks like it'll be even harder to kill him now. However, hard as it is, there will still be an opportunity. I must be patient, take it slowly, and befriend him first. Since the world of swords would not open for another 40 years, Jian Wushuang isolated himself in the secret chamber to cultivate the secret skill inside the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. The abstruse secret skill required the use of the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. After studying the skill for a long time, he finally found the method to do so. He finally mastered the secret skill after 31 years. I finally made it. He opened his eyes, which were filled with joy. With the cultivation of the secret skill complete, he took out the golden gourd and pulled out the plug without hesitating. Under his control, the blaze quicksand surged out of the gourd. Quicksand realm. Jian Wushuang's gaze sharpened as he used the skill. Then, the madly surging blaze quicksand combined in a distinct rhythm and filled the entire secret chamber. Whoosh! An immaterial realm was formed. The realm was formed entirely out of dense blaze quicksand and would focus its pressure in the direction that Jian Wushuang thought of. Boom! The space inside the secret chamber erupted under the immense pressure. The pressure was strong enough to cause celestial masters to tremble. Terrific! Jian Wushuang's eyes glinted. Since he was the master of this realm, he knew just how strong it was. He was sure that if he maximized the power of the realm, it would be enough to crush ordinary celestial masters. He could even grind an advanced celestial master into ash with the pressure of the realm. Only experts stronger than celestial master of the exceptional realm could survive the pressure. Even so, their overall strength would be largely restricted. Take Celestial Master Malignity for example. Malignity was the fastest celestial master in the entire Green Fire world. However, Jian Wushuang estimated that Malignity could only exert 10% of his regular speed, at most while trapped in the quicksand realm. Moreover, Malignity could also only exert 30% of his full strength at most. Considering how much Malignity's strength would be suppressed in a true battle between them, Jian Wushuang was confident of emerging the victor if he used all his might. How fearsome! When I was weak, I cultivated several skills that involved the use of realms, but those skills could at most reduce my opponent's strength by 10 to 20%. I was never able to crush my opponent to death using the realm's pressure alone. The pressure of the quicksand realm has exceeded all expectations. Since it could reduce the strength of ordinary celestial masters of exceptional realm by 70%, I bet it'll also affect universe masters. With this realm, anyone weaker than the exceptional realm won't be able to threaten me anymore. Even if a dozen or over 100 advanced celestial masters team up to attack me, nearly no one would be able to escape once I activate the realm. Jian Wushuang sighed emotionally. He had never felt more excited before. The might of the blaze quicksand gourd was far beyond his imagination. It's still too early to be happy. Mighty as the quicksand realm is, it's only useful against certain celestial masters. It's still not powerful enough to deal with universe masters. Of course, once you become a Tao master and make great breakthroughs in your strength, even universe masters won't be able to belittle your technique, Gu King said. Jian Wushuang frowned. Treasures required the user's strength to exert their power. For example, Jian Wushuang had only succeeded in using a Chaos Divine treasure, the Mountain River map, once, and it only happened after he engulfed King Luo Zhen's essence blood. Typically, he would not be able to use the Mountain River map. In contrast, Quicksand Realm required less strength from him. Even so, Jian Wushuang was barely able to summon a small portion of the realm's power. He would have to enhance his strength to maximize the use of the realm. The Quicksand Realm gives me another trump card. The world of swords is going to open in 9 years. This is a big opportunity that can't be missed. In the following 9 years, I should prepare adequately, so I can secure the greatest harvest there. Then he started his preparation for the world of swords. Chapter 1138, A Tall Tree. Chapter 1138, A Tall Tree. 9 years swiftly passed. Jian Wuxiang was still in his secret chamber when an indifferent man with a long sword on his back appeared above Jian Wuxiang's mansion. Jian Wuxiang. His cold voice traveled through many layers of restrictions to reach Jian Wuxiang's ears. Jian Wuxiang was immediately awakened. His body turned illusory, and in the following second, he appeared in front of the man. Sunrise Sword Emperor. Jian Wuxiang bowed to the man. It's been 100,000 years. The world of swords is opening again. Come with me, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Yes. Jian Wuxiang nodded, despite the surprise he felt inside. He thought Sunrise Sword Emperor would send someone to take him to the world of swords. He followed Sunrise Sword Emperor to the wormhole of Green Fire Palace. They traveled through the wormhole and arrived somewhere on the massive battlefield. Is the location of the secret land of the world of swords? Jian Wuxiang frowned as he scanned his surroundings. He saw a giant and boundless plain covered in a dense layer of grass. The most eye-catching thing on the plain was a tall tree. Though it was big and tall, it did not look very different from ordinary trees. Jian Wuxiang followed Sunrise Sword Emperor as they walked up to the tree. The world of swords lies inside the tree, Sunrise Sword Emperor said in an emotionless voice. What? Inside the tree? Jian Wuxiang asked in surprise. The secret land of the world of swords was inside such an ordinary tree. Be patient. We'll wait here for a moment, and soon you'll get your answer. Sunrise Sword Emperor closed his eyes. Thus, Jian Wuxiang stayed and waited. Just like that, 3 days quickly passed. Suddenly, an ancient aura came out of the tree, and its central trunk began to wriggle. It's time. Sunrise Sword Emperor opened his eyes and stared at the tree. Jian Wuxiang followed suit in staring fixedly at the tree. The trunk continued to wriggle until a dark and spiraling tunnel appeared. This tunnel that led to a mysterious world was big enough for one person. This is the tunnel to the world of swords. Remember, you can stay there for no more than 10 years. Whether or not you achieve anything, you'll be sent back when the deadline comes. Of course, you'll achieve a lot considering how talented you are, Sunrise Sword Emperor explained. 10 years. Jian Wuxiang gave a small nod. That's enough talk. Get in, Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Jian Wuxiang entered the mysterious spiraling tunnel without hesitation. He reappeared as a light flared, and found himself still on a plain. Jian Wuxiang frowned as he examined his surroundings. He was still on a large and boundless plain, which seemed identical to the one he was on before. He also spotted a tall tree here. The difference was that this tree was much larger than the one he saw across the tunnel. He stared at the tree in astonishment. This is enormous. This tree was tens of thousands of times, and even hundreds of thousands of times larger than the tree before. It was enough to shock him. He had never seen such a large tree in his entire life. He even thought that this tree might be bigger than the entire eternal world. When Jian Wuxiang took a closer look at the tree, it appeared different. This isn't a tree. This is a huge sword. Jian Wuxiang's voice was trembling. It was indeed a massive sword. It was a sword that could shock the whole world. And no, that's not right. Jian Wuxiang squinted. This time, he focused on the trunk of the tree. Millions of branches extended from the lush tree, forming such a full cover that they looked like a palm leaf fan. There were still countless leaves on the tiny branches. Jian Wuxiang correctly guessed that the tree was not simply a huge sword. Its branches and leaves could all turn into swords. These swords all contained a perfect sword principle each. This large tree was a huge sword that contained a complete sword principle. This sword principle was also the strongest one. The trunk was a sword with a complete sword principle of the creation level. Each branch was a sword with a complete sword principle of the universe level. Even the individual leaf was a sword with a complete sword principle of the general level. There was an abundance of sword principles here. These distinct and different sword principles were in perfect harmony. Most importantly, they were all derived from the tree. Is this a single sword that yields millions of swords? Jian Wushuang was utterly stupefied. He was this shocked because he had figured out the principle of the tree. The tree that was not an actual tree was, in fact, a complete and amazing sword principle. Most of all, in the same manner that a tree would grow branches and leaves, this sword principle also grew thousands of principles of the creation, universe, and general levels. What an incredible sword principle! What an incredible method! I put so much effort into studying Coalescence sword principle, all so I can gather different sword principles and coalesce them. But this tree grows hundreds of thousands of sword principles. It's completely opposite to my method. Jian Wushuang stared fixedly at the tree. In just a split second, he had gained many realizations. Unification sword and derivative swords had completely opposing natures. Nevertheless, they shared many similarities. Previously, Jian Wushuang had focused on learning to unify sword principles. He had failed to perfect it, as he had done the coalescence clumsily. Now, as he stared at the tree, he came to realize the flaw in his process. Derivative swords means growing like a tree. The coalescence sword principle is just like millions of rivers converging to form the vast sea. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.